What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of A Song of Life and Death. Things are getting heated.
The final episode.
The final episode is going to be, this is going to be the final episode. Remember, guys, to check us out on Spotify. Look us up. It's the Life and Death podcast. Look us up on youtube.com/Life and Death. Follow us on Instagram. I'm getting all of this out there, especially for this final episode, so you guys can get with us and hopefully you can listen to our future endeavors with the podcast. But this is the final episode of the Game of Thrones review recap podcast. And I'm your co-host, Alex. I have Fernie to my left. I have Mr. Manuel, our expert. And we have David as well with the Infinity Gauntlet t-shirt, which is freaking awesome. But yes, guys, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about what our perspective on what we thought of these last two episodes of the series finale of Game of Thrones. So I'm going to send it off to Fernie. Go ahead.
So yeah, we're combining episode 5 and 6 because we missed last week. So sorry about that, guys. But just real quick, an overview of episode 5. We have kind of Varys writing to everybody that can get ravens that Jon is the true heir to the king. So to the heir to the throne. Yeah. So real quick, do you guys think that he was able to send out all those ravens in the first place? Because it looked like he was wearing scrolls, right, to send out.
And we did see true heir on one of them. One of them says true heir.
It never felt like he sent anything out.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it didn't feel like, honestly, it didn't feel like he did anything. Like, yes, he was writing letters, but it never felt like any kind of betrayal happened and then you got in trouble.
We are going to touch on this, though, that we talked about earlier of his little... Like
his little bird,
like she comes in and she's kind of like, what? There was a guard there. She's still not eating. Like, yeah, she's still not eating, and he's like, oh, we'll try during supper. Is that maybe him trying to poison Daenerys?
Possibly, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I saw. That's what I saw online. That people were like, is he trying to poison her or whatever? I thought maybe it was him, like, still checking up on her though, like not being, because he's betraying her in the sense of like telling everybody like, you know, Jon's a Targaryen also, and he has the best claim to the throne, but I feel like she's still queen, so might as well see that. And then he gets executed because of this. Like, Tyrion sees Varys going up to Jon on the beach when Jon gets to Dragonstone, and Varys tells Jon, like, I don't know about her coin, because whenever a Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin and the world holds their breath. Like, he's like, I still don't know how her landed, but I don't know how yours did. And so that's when we find out that Jon finds out that Varys knows that he's a Targaryen, and he tells him, "I don't want it. Like, I don't want the throne." Yeah.
Does he not want it because? Why do you think he doesn't want the responsibility?
I just think Jon is not. I mean, one, he loves Daenerys, and he kind of gave her the knee a long time ago, and he's honor bound to that. But also, I think, like, Jon, every position of power he's gotten, like at the Night's Watch and like being the king of the North, he's kind of standoffish. He's like, oh, I don't know if I want this, but people still choose him.
Do you think he's because he was raised technically by Ned?
Yep.
And you kind of see how Ned is like
honor bound.
He's like very humble and just like, you know, like doesn't need to have all that claim
and plus Jon doesn't like the game of houses. He doesn't like one house fighting another or always trying to backstab you. Like, he believes like in Ned Stark's way, like straight honor. So he knows if he's on the throne, he's not going to get that. So I think that's why he's always so reluctant to take, like, he doesn't mind leadership roles, like say he's leading troops, but when it comes to like leading like a government or like a political party, he doesn't like to do it. So I think that's the whole reason why he doesn't want it. Like, he's not mad for power. Like, he's not a power hungry guy.
he can fucking sure as hell fight.
He can fight like a mad demon.
And with Daenerys executing Varys, she has Drogon light him on fire. And that shot was pretty cool too, where Drogon just comes out of the darkness and
it was pretty scary.
Yeah,
chilling, creepy.
Terrifying.
Yep.
And you see the camera kind of lingers on Jon, just looking at Daenerys, and he's kind of like not sure of what to make of it. Like, Daenerys and Grey Worm are looking at the fire like with cold faces. They're just like, yeah, fuck this guy.
This goes also back to Melisandre telling him, "Oh, you're gonna die here.
You'll die on this continent, like I will."
Yeah.
But again, I felt his whole getting executed for treason was super weak. It was like Tyrion like tells her, "Oh yeah, he betrayed you. What did he do? Where's the proof? What's going on?" Like that. Every other time in the series When there was a betrayal, you saw the betrayal.
Well, it goes back to this and like what he
It just
mentioned
felt
about
weak.
he mentioned about the little bird, and the little bird was telling him like, I feel like the guards are looking at me. And
He's like, with great risk comes greater reward.
Yeah.
The greater the risk.
so
Well,
and
still
he
doesn't prove anything.
Well, what I'm saying is that she knew that the guards were looking at her, and Varys kind of like, okay, like, you know, let's keep going with this. So, and he kept riding like through the night, and then when he heard some footsteps coming closer, like he knows it was for him. Like he doesn't. It's not like he's surprised by it because
like
he
maybe
gets
he
already.
knew he had something mischievous.
No, I'm not saying like him. I'm saying the way he was like condemned for treason. It just felt so weak. It's like someone coming and saying, "Okay, you're the traitor." Like you betray everybody, but there's no like
you're saying-
evidence. It felt
Well,
it
you're
was
saying
like
maybe
a very
if-
weak trial.
Are you saying maybe if we saw a scene of maybe the little bird pouring something in her
right,
thing, and
or,
then it doesn't
or
happen?
even they find the letters,
Well,
or like
but what I'm saying is like they don't have to show it because it's kind of implied like the guards is already like on
Right.
on his watch or whatever, and like they know, and he's the master whisperer. Like he has the most influence of trying to get things out there,
and that's what I'm saying. And as the master of whisperers, you'll need evidence. Like
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? Everyone knows he's a sly fuck.
but also Daenerys at this point, like she doesn't give a fuck anymore. Like she's just
Exactly.
gonna execute whatever.
That's what I'm.
And that's
yeah.
why John was kind of like, I don't know if he liked that or not, because after that he goes talk to Daenerys, and Grey Worm's talking to Daenerys before that, and they do the whole Missandei, like remembering Missandei and giving Grey Worm the chain that she had. He threw it in the fire because he's like, I don't want that to be the last thing he remembers her by. And when John goes to talk to Daenerys, like Grey Worm has to be dismissed because at this point I think Grey Worm also doesn't trust anybody.
He hates everybody. He's bitter.
Yeah, and then John kind of tells Daenerys that she's still his queen, and he loves her, and she's complaining about like not having love in Westeros, and she kind of try to get some loving from him, and he's just like nah, like
Yeah.
because at this point I think he's already like, besides him being her aunt, I think he is not trustful of her anymore.
He's turned off.
Yeah.
Like this bitch is rotten. You know what I mean? Like he can tell. Like there's something
He's
not
treading
right.
lightly. Yeah.
And John always had a good instinct with people. You know what I mean? So okay, sorry. Go ahead.
And I like that thing where like she's trying to kiss him, and like he pulls away from her, and then she says, "All right, then let there be fear," because she tells him like, "I don't have love here, I just have fear."
It's like you're not gonna give the dick. The city's gonna pay, bro.
I thought the imagery, like when you see her, she looks wicked. Like Missandei was probably combing her hair and getting her dressed and stuff. She looks disheveled and malnourished, and the flames, and when she's talking to John, I'm like, oh yeah,
No se cuida.
we got the
Yeah.
mad queen here.
Mhm.
I really liked that whole scene. It was really good.
And then Tyrion is pleading with Dany to show mercy to the people at King's Landing, claiming that there are innocent and hostages to Cersei.
Sausages.
Hostages to Cersei. And then Daenerys claims that Cersei thinks that mercy is their weakness, but Cersei is wrong. Mercy is their strength. But it isn't mercy to the people living there now, but towards future generations. She seems to want to wipe up the whole city and start anew, and kind of blame the people for being in the position they're in, comparing them to the slaves in Marine that fought and fed themselves when she first arrived. So Tyrion's like, hey, if you hear the bells, call it off, like they surrendered. And that Tyrion keeps mentioning the bells, and the name of the episode was The Bells, so you know that has significance to this episode. But she's saying like, no, like the people there are weak. I feel like she was saying like the people there are weak. We need to start new, and the only way to start new is to kill them all. And
Start fresh.
yeah, Tyrion was kind of like, hey, let's not do that. And she's like, you know what? I'm being merciful. And that's when you can tell, like, yes, she was being mad.
Is that like a selfish ass act of someone saying like, it's bigger than us right now. It's the future. Like that's
Yeah.
that's
It's
very
super
just
selfish.
fucking cop out,
Yeah.
and like just
Yeah.
you don't want to really deal with the aftermath maybe, and they just kind of
See, and
it's easier to do this.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess this is where her like psychotic breakdown is evident, because like Daenerys always strived for the opposite. Regardless, she always fought for like the people, and then so that they're not slaves and they're safe and they have food and water, and then it's
What was
like,
actually right? Yeah.
yeah. Now she's like, no dick,
And
King's
she-
Landing's gone.
No, and she even says that in episode 6, like I know what's good. And,
Yeah.
And John says like, what about the other people? What what about what they think it's good? It's like, well, we'll teach them or something.
Yeah,
like
like
that.
not everybody knows what's good.
They don't get a choice.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't get a
So
choice.
with the Dothraki and the Unsullied are fucking and creating this new. I'm sorry.
And then Daenerys tells Tyrion that they captured Jaime trying to get back to King's Landing, and kind of tells him like, you betrayed me, and like, and the next time you fail me, this will be the last time you fail me. So kind of giving him a threat of killing him. And then Tyrion and Jon get to outside King's Landing, to the camp outside King's Landing, and Tyrion tells Davos that was there that then he wants to attack now, but Jon says that they'll attack at daybreak at the earliest when the rear guard gets there. So waiting for more troops to attack and not just do everything like that. And then Tyrion at night goes to Jaime and his imprisonment.
Who got caught trying to cross through? Yeah,
their troops.
Their troops and stuff. Yeah, and this is literally not one of the very next scenes, but right after her saying "you fuck up again," and there's Tyrion like my brother. After you know what I mean, kind of. He's kind of like at that point you kind of see him like, you know what, I'm gonna do. He's my brother. I mean, you can see throughout the whole fucking season, the whole series, that they have a close connection.
And you see like Tywin's hand, because Tywin always made family first, and Tyrion has that psychology, like family first. Like regardless, yes, everyone treats him like shit, but I gotta see my brother.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. I like the way Tyrion was.
And also, I don't know if we're gonna talk about what they talk about in the tent, but when they're in there, I fucking love when it made me laugh when Jaime's like, you know what? I don't know if he's like says that Cersei told him, but I was once told that I was one of the stupid Lannisters.
Yeah, because he's like, how did you get caught? And he raises up his hand like, yeah, who else has a gold hand? Jaime Lannister.
Yeah, and he's like, someone tells me like, or someone told me when I was young, I was one of the dumbest Lannisters.
Cersei, like Cersei.
Yeah, Cersei.
But Tyrion goes to free Jaime and tells him basically like, get to King's Landing, get to Cersei, tell her to surrender, and just flee.
Yeah, there's gonna be a boat waiting for you.
There's gonna be a boat waiting for you, a buoy or whatever he calls it.
Pentos.
A dinghy,
like
I think.
a dinghy. Oh yeah,
A dinghy.
Whatever.
With his dinghy.
May the like winds take you all the way to the Essos or like whatever. Like he's saying, not get rid of Cersei, but get Cersei out of here. Get your child out of here. Ring the bells. That's how they know you surrendered.
For a moment, I thought they were gonna do a Daenerys and I forgot the brother's name, when they escaped King's Landing as kids and they're like on the run for decades. Viserys. I thought that was gonna be Jaime and Cersei. I thought they were gonna escape and be like running for their life, like for the rest of their lives. That was their punishment, like living as peasants and shit. But
looking over their
it didn't
shoulders
happen.
and shit.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
Yeah, and at this point, Jaime's still kind of optimistic about Cersei winning. He's like, maybe she'll win. Like, he's like, no, you're not gonna win. Like, you're gonna die if you stay here. You need
this is
to leave.
a very heartfelt moment too to me.
Yeah.
Like they were really close.
So
Yeah,
like you were the only one that didn't treat me like a monster.
Yeah.
I was like, no, he did it. He loves you. He loves you.
And I know we need to talk about it, but in this scene, I feel like the writers ruined Jaime.
Okay.
And we had a brief conversation about this earlier, but it's to me, from when we get introduced to Jaime in episode 1 where he pushes Bran out of the window, and then he's a cunt in season 2 when he's captured by the Starks, and then season 3 and 4 when he's with Brienne.
He gets humbled.
He gets humbled and he gets his hand cut off, and he protected Brienne, and he also sits in the baths, and that's when they have the conversation, and you hear his side of the story. Like, look, the king went mad. He was going to kill thousands of innocent people. He's like, and I couldn't do that. So he put aside his honor and did something for the greater good. So he betrayed his own name and his family name and
his position.
And his position with the King's Guard, and murdered the king, which is the Mad King, which is Daenerys' father, right? And he said the reason he did it was for the innocent people. And then in this scene, he says that what about all the innocent people out there? And he's like, fuck the innocent.
No, he's like, I really didn't care for them.
That goes entirely against his character. And like, I don't like...
Okay, Jaime doesn't want to slaughter innocents, but also he doesn't give a fuck about... I mean, he doesn't care for them in the sense that he'd go feed them or get them clothes, but he doesn't want them massacred. So there's that kind of like, he's still a snob, but he's not a heartless snob.
Yeah, and I think it kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, and I'm a little bit more calm down because usually we had a heated discussion earlier. But what I was saying was like, this is Jaime's character. Like, he went back for Cersei, and when Tyrion is telling him like, hey, if you get Cersei out of the city, like not a lot of people are gonna die, and that's when he says like, I really didn't care for them, but he also knows that if Cersei surrenders, like that's not gonna happen anymore. And he tells Tyrion, like he promises Tyrion, like, okay, I'll go talk to Cersei.
But he
to avoid all that.
But David's point is right. Like, he wouldn't want this whole city destroyed. Like like Jaime wouldn't. He wouldn't say like, I don't care, they die.
And I know, and like I know, because he says I'm hateful, and I'm like, and he says killed my cousin for Cersei. I got captured for Cersei. I went and I could have killed everybody at the Riverlands for Cersei, but I didn't. And I was like, you know what? Because he's changed as a character, but I loved that he does a full 180. Now, had they explained it a little bit better, and I understand, like, he did everything for Cersei, and that was the main point. But I just feel like we missed there was a bit of dialogue that we could have had. I just felt it was sloppy. Well, okay. and I love Jaime. Like, that was one of my top 3 characters of the entire series.
He loves you too.
I hope he does, because I fucking, again, it really hurt. And I love the way everything happens. I don't know, we're gonna touch on it, because I had no issues with the outcomes of everything that happened this season. It's just the trail, the path, the journey that we were on to get there. It was a little poor for me, but that's just my perspective.
Yeah, I think Jaime saying that wasn't him like not giving a fuck, but right now his focus was on Cersei, and he was saying whatever he needed to say to get Tyrion to get him to Cersei.
But it was also like the underlying theme, because like he had done it before. He saved thousands. He was a hero, but he betrayed his honor. And then fuck prophecy, but because like he was apparently it was either down to him or Tyrion to be the Valonqar, right? The Valonqar prophecy, which wasn't a part of the show, which could possibly be in the books.
It has to
I
be
don't
in the
know.
books.
But the fact that I was like, okay, he's in the same spot. Can he do it twice? Can he kill and put his honor aside and kill the queen? Like, and obviously we know what the ending was, and I fucking loved it, because that is as real of a person you can be. But the fact that he said, I did it for the innocent, and then he said he didn't really care about the innocents, and then you basically simplified it. But I don't know. It was just really.
But you make a good point though.
It hurt me. Like I felt like that was my character. Like that, his he had a beautiful arc, and then they stumbled, and then they nailed it.
I didn't think they fucked it up, like, or they stumbled or anything. I feel like Jaime was Jaime all the way to the end.
But he didn't have, like I said it earlier before we were recording, he didn't have his Phoenix moment, like his last, like, I don't know, explosion of heroic, because it's Jaime Lannister. Like he was the hero of, or like the good guy of Westeros.
Maybe them making him say like, oh, he's a stupid Lannister. Like maybe there was no heroic thing. He was just like he was decent with a sword. And
that was
it.
very evident at the end of the series. Nobody was good at anything. So
I wanted to go that far, but yeah.
Oh, no,
anyways, let's move on to the troops at King's Landing are getting ready. And you see them loading what seems to be tens of scorpions. So like dozens and dozens of scorpions like along the walls and on the Iron Fleet. And they're all just waiting. And it was eerily quiet. Like when they were just waiting for it to happen. You see the Golden Company come outside the gates. And their uniforms look fucking dope. I loved everything.
Badass, dude.
And I was like, oh shit, I can't wait for the battle to happen. And then you see Daenerys coming in from the sun and take out the whole Iron Fleet, just zigzagging around and getting missed by the scorpions. And people were complaining. Let me get to this point real quick. People were complaining like, wow, last episode the scorpions can hit Rhaegal like straight on and be like, oh shit, and now they can't hit a single one this episode. But I have to say that Euron's ship was the only ship to hit Drogon, and it didn't do shit to him.
No, and just to get a little fantasy on you guys.
Did he hit? Did they hit?
It looked like he did because he shot and
it grazed it.
Well, I didn't see the arrow or the whatever the boat is like go off screen like past him. it felt like it hit him, and Drogon kind of just like screeched, and like he came towards that ship to destroy it right away.
And remember, dragons in Westeros, their eyesight is incredible. They learn fast. So from the first time seeing his brother die, that's why Drogon was probably more maneuverable and shit. Plus, they pulled a page out of Harrenhal. That's how they destroyed Harrenhal. That's how Aegon the Conqueror, he flew up into the sun, and flew down and just took out everything.
Where you see Euron like try to like.
I thought it was smarter this time around because they actually rolled up their masts. This time, all the ships had their masts up, and I'm like, all right, they're just stationary targets. And obviously, they don't want to shoot through their masts, so they're not going to be able to move. Mm-hmm. But I loved how, like, Drogon went from like an 8 to a 10 here, where with like his power, like you can finally felt the power of
like
a full-grown dragon.
Yeah, because Rhaegal, as far as we know, Rhaegal wasn't a full-grown yet because he's had stunted growth up compared to Drogon, and he was weak to begin with when he died, when he got killed. So just seeing the power of Drogon, like of a dragon, because people were worried about dragons and like, oh, she just has dragons, and people are like, okay, cool, like we have to deal with that. But no, it's a fucking dragon. Like we see the power of it.
And he had like years, like a year of being free and feeding and doing what he wants, while the other ones were like underground. You remember they're in that cave, so Rhaegal was stunted a little bit. Mm-hmm. But dude, the dragon scene, I was like. Fantasy nerd coming. I was like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. And Daenerys learned too. Like she didn't come at the scorpions head on. Like she came at angles where along the wall where they couldn't get to her.
Yep.
And people are like, oh, now she can take them out like so easily. Like yeah, that's what happens. You have the element of surprise. Like they surprised her last time. Now she surprised them.
And then you also got to think about the last time where they were leaving Winterfell. She didn't want to rest. Remember? Yeah. And they just went out after this battle they just had. So you got to understand that dragons, too, are also taking a toll physically before they take off.
And she has the buff of being angry. Like, she's...
+3 to strike, plus to dodge. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like,
+3 dexterity.
+3 dexterity.
Endurance, because fucking Drogon was just...
The dragon...
She activates rage. She can do air
rolls. The dragon was burning everybody and was like... Dragon, massive cigarette.
That's right.
But yeah, then
the city's my cigarette.
So she takes out the whole scorpions along the wall, and she breaks through the gates, killing most of the Golden Company. So they didn't get to fight. They just looked cool.
That made me a little sad. It was like wasted, awesome soldiers. Like, you know what I mean? They look so cool, and then they got the stupidest looking guy as a commander. I hated his face, Strickland, but the army was cool.
Yeah, and then I'm already disappointed because they didn't bring the elephants with them. So I kind of continue that trend of being a disappointment.
Yeah.
Did you see all the memes of like, oh, if Cersei had her elephants, they could put all the fires out
with the water? Yeah,
the water.
And then
God damn it.
the northern men and the Unsullied and Dothraki break through the walls, and they kind of just massacre everybody like in their way.
I love the way she blows up the gate from the inside out. So it like crushes half of the.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's
Golden
she takes
Company,
them out.
and then they run in.
Yeah, and the Golden Company is running away also, and she kind of comes back around and burns them alive, and then that's when Jon's army or his troops on the ground start going in. And
also around this time is when she destroys the ship that Euron's on, and then Euron gets into the water, and he jumps into the water. But later on, you kind of see that when Jaime's trying to sneak around to get to Cersei, after they didn't let him into the red, was it the Red Keep? He was trying to get into the Red Keep.
Yeah,
he's like soldier. He has
I know his hand
his golden hand up. Yeah,
trying to get their attention.
Like nobody knows you anymore.
Funny, yeah.
No, and I think that was perfect because like in that moment, like everything's panicky and nobody gives a fuck of who you are anymore. Like they just want to save themselves, and like. People look at him and they see like the golden hand, but they don't give a fuck.
Yeah, they're like, I'm gonna fucking die.
Yeah,
fuck everything else.
I mean, they don't specifically show that in like show, but they look at him and they're kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, fuck you, I'm getting out of here.
No one gives him attention. Should we just say that? Yeah.
And then from there he goes another way around, and that's where he sees Euron. But we'll get to that.
Yeah,
and the dinghy's there.
The little dinghy.
That's right. I just wanted to make sure that we got Euron jumping off the ship before it got destroyed. And shit, you know.
And then. So Jon, Grey Worm, and Davos are walking, and they come into a little opening of streets, and his men are standing there, and the Lannister men are standing there also, just not knowing what to do. Daenerys kind of perches up on a wall, and they're just staring at each other like, what's going to be the next move? and the Lannister men just throw down their swords and surrender. And you see the cries you hear the cries from the city people just saying like, ring the bells, ring the bells. And Cersei is just looking over them, and at this point she was telling like was this must Qyburn. She was saying Qyburn like, we just need one good shot, we'll bring him down. And it's like, but all the scorpions are destroyed. And it's like, well,
we have the Iron
Euron
Fleet.
can do it.
It's like, you have the Iron Fleet. It's like, well, they've been destroyed also. What about the Golden Company? Like, well, they're also dead. And she was saying, well, the people will defend us. Like, they'll fight like no other sellsword to protect the queen. And then she hears those cries, and she doesn't say much like this whole episode.
She's trying to believe that she's gonna make it.
Yeah,
and you can kind of see
she's
her
stubborn.
losing her.
And that felt very un-Cersei to me, because Cersei is very quick to escape death, like very quick.
Do you
remember
think
even when she thought Stannis was taking the city, she's like, poison.
Yeah, but I think she grew though.
Yeah,
like,
but do you think maybe she was like, she didn't want to believe that she could lose. She thought maybe she was unbeatable.
Yeah.
No, she did. That's what I'm saying. It was just a strange. I mean, not strange. It's just. I mean, she lost all her kids, right? So she don't give a fuck. But she hates more than she grieves. You know what I mean? People that hate like that, they want to live to hate more.
So in these scenes is where we see Cersei up there in that area, and she's looking at the mayhem that the dragon is fucking throwing upon the city. And in this scene is where I thought, because I know Arya and fucking the Hound were on their way to King's Landing.
Yeah.
My bad, I say Arya?
Yeah.
Okay, I know Arya and the Hound were fucking on their way to King's Landing, and
they kind of go through the city and they blend their way.
Yeah, I thought here's where Arya would. I don't know. I saw Qyburn come out, and he was really trying to get Cersei to like, hey, let's go, like you're gonna die. I was like, I feel like that wasn't Qyburn's character, and I was like, maybe Arya's playing the faceless mask game thing, and I'm like, what if it's fucking Qyburn? And that would have been fucking beautiful. Like that would have been cool.
The face power never came back.
So at this face-off with the Lannister troops and the Northerners and the Unsullied and the Dothraki, I thought it was super tense. And then I love when Daenerys takes flight again, and Grey Worm chucks his spear. They start fighting, and the gore in this scene was fucking incredible.
Not even fighting; they start massacring.
Hold on, sorry. Can I set that up though?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, it's just you could say that right now. But it's because I want to talk about the bells ringing, and then like
sure, yeah.
So yeah, they have the cries for the bell to ring, and then they start ringing, and Tyrion has a sense of relief, like oh, okay, like this is what I told him was gonna happen, and once the bells start, everybody's gonna give up, like they're not gonna fight anymore. Daenerys should just be like okay with it, and then. The bells start ringing, and we see Daenerys like looking around, and she starts getting like angry when she looks at the Red Keep, because that was all she wanted, and it's right there, and like now they're just giving up without a fight, and like I feel like her seeing the Red Keep, the writers David were like saying that her seeing the Red Keep was triggering all her memories of everything being taken away from her, and she wasn't just gonna like let it slip away. And she was gonna be the dragon that she was, and she was gonna start burning everything. She starts flying off and burning everything, and then that's when Grey Worm and throws that spear, and it starts the massacre of the people.
After the soldiers have already dropped their weapons.
Yeah,
I thought like the bells and the score that were playing while Daenerys, and you have to think like Daenerys was in a room, or what's her name?
Cersei.
Clark.
Oh,
Emilia
Clarke.
Emilia Clarke is in a green room on a foam dragon, and she's portraying like her going crazy, and she did an amazing job.
The first time her face acting was on point.
Yeah, she did an amazing job of showing that all the grief and everything, and like I thought it was incredible. The bells and then the score underneath, just the ambient. Well, it was awesome. And then they do. Start the massacre.
That
of
very
the
first
Lannister
shot
soldiers.
by Grey Worm with the spear was fucking brutal.
Do you know what that is a reflection of? Like, when that happened in history, like almost the same, without the dragon, of course, but the same scenario was when the Crusaders took Jerusalem, like in 1000 whatever. They took Jerusalem, and the guys surrendered, and they're like, sorry, all of you are going to God. And they started slaughtering everybody.
Jesus.
Hands were getting chopped off, faces, throats slit. One of the soldiers gets a sword and like cuts into one of the Lannister guys, like almost in half. Ooh, that was
And
awesome.
the double hand, the guy with the 2 axes chopping the dude's face. Oh, beauty.
Yeah, and John is kind of like, whoa, let's calm down here. Like, let's not do anything. And then he has to fight because Lannister men start fighting back. So,
But
he's-
Grey Room gives
defending
him that
himself.
side eyes, though. Grey Room's like,
Yeah.
bitch.
I
you're
see.
Yeah.
gonna kill
John is just
people?
defending himself, is how I see that.
yeah. When the Lannister comes at him, but he was kind of telling his men to fall back because once Grey Room started, like everybody just started killing each other, and you see John on the ground, and they do that thing where like everything's like echoey, and he's just looking around
Breathing.
like, what's going on? And then as he snaps back to it, as one of his men is trying to rape a woman like on the street, and he kills him like because his honor is still there. Like, yes, we're taking the city, we're pillaging it, and we're like massacring everybody, but this is not the way to do it. Like,
John in slow mo looks like when he fights, it looks effortlessly. He's just like, bing.
Right? Like
He's just walking,
yeah.
like he's
Yeah,
not even
like,
looking at anybody.
he's
Just
in that moment where he's like in that state of not confusion, but just kind of like witnessing everything. He's still fighting and doing this like it's like he's robotic and just accustomed to fight.
a natural,
like, he's
dude.
just like still trying to like, why the fuck is everybody fighting? But I'm not gonna fucking die.
And-
Fuck you, you know. That's
And
just
to
fucking
think
dope.
the actor's been practicing since like 17 or 18 for those 8 years with a
Jeez.
sword. So for him, it's like nothing. That's
Yeah.
fucking awesome, man.
yeah, and like I said, like when he fought at the wall against the Wildlings, and he was fighting against that then,
Yeah.
like just the way he swings the sword, he's fighting forward, like he's fighting forward instead of defensive. Like he's, I don't know,
It's beautiful.
he uses his momentum, like you said
yeah,
earlier.
like
And we never get to see Jamie fight like that. Like because Jamie's supposed to fight like a fucking like a hurricane.
Yeah.
Like he's the best, but we never really see it.
even like Selmy and let me bring
And
this up.
Selmy.
Let me bring this up before we move on a little bit. But with the Night King, turns out that the stunt actor that played the Sword of the Dawn was Sir Arthur Dayne.
Sir Arthur Dayne. Yeah.
And how he fought with the 2 swords at the Tower of Joy against Ned Stark. That the stunt actor that did the stunts, like the fighting, was the actor that played the Night King.
And he's a professional sword fighter.
Yeah,
In real
so
life.
they missed the opportunity to have an epic battle with the Night King, just fighting that way.
Against John.
The whole season was an epic missed battle that could have happened. Sorry.
I mean, that one
being
specifically.
facetious,
I
but
just
yeah.
think. I just
No,
think that
you're
one.
right. No, I have a whole issue with that, but
And then this is when we see Jaime making his way into the Red Keep from underneath, where Tyrion was telling him to go like escape with Cersei from, and Euron pops out of nowhere, and he's like, "Hey, what's up? It's me, Euron. I'm here to fight you now."
with his dumb
He just
face. Hey,
he just swam 6 miles in leather.
bunch of salt water.
and
He's a fucking Kraken, dude. He can swim. They're excellent swimmers. So,
He's like,
so
God.
that's believable. But I mean, that's a little stretch that he ends up being there at the same time as Jaime getting
You
there.
can't drown, bro.
I mean, and it's a pretty. Obviously, they fight, and it's a pretty even match because, like, obviously, he just swam 6 miles. Jamie just ran 6 miles
And doesn't have his fighting hand.
and doesn't have his fighting hand.
And he wasn't in the mood to fight. Like, yes, like you're gonna fight whenever, but he was still worried on getting to Cersei. So, like, it was kind of like,
I like that exchange.
But even then,
I like the exchange,
he was
honestly.
even willing to put things aside. Like, you might be her new man, but we need to go save her.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
Euron's just a
Euron-
fucking cunt.
And Euron's like, you hear that? That's a city dying. Like, there's no point in going in there anymore. But I'm still gonna kill you because I think we talked about it. Like, his story is just trying to be in stories because he tells
Yeah.
Jaime like, oh, if you kill me, you'll kill another king, and they'll sing songs about you. Like, he's worried about the history
Yeah, like-
that he's gonna leave behind.
I like this about Euron in this area is where I kind of understood his character more and as Jaime wins I'm sorry if I'm rushing it, but Jaime wins the fucking battle, right? And he's continues to go through the cave to get to Cersei, and you see Euron on his fucking like deathbed, like his rock, he's just bleeding. He's like, I'm the one who killed Jaime Lannister. Like,
You need a cigarette
I'm just
after
like,
that.
dude, you're fucking
Yeah.
wicked. Like, you're fucking crazy, dude. You
Yeah.
know, like
Like, he
he
doesn't-
is just thinking about history and like what's gonna go, who's gonna talk about who. He's not even
in
I
the
don't know.
books. Euron's like that. Like he has like a madness. Like he's always like looking through you, never looking at you. So you saw that when he was dying. It was great.
And
It
then
was great.
and then I start looking back at him saying like the way he talks to everybody when he talks to Cersei, I'm gonna put a prince in you. Like he speaks very like he's not in the moment. You know,
Yeah.
like he's just thinking of the future of I don't know. It's
and even
cool.
like
It's
one
really
eye
cool.
kind of wanders. It makes
like,
him like, no, really. He's like,
I'm the god, like, you know, like,
Yeah.
he was saying that he's the drowned god and stuff. Like, so yeah, he's worried about legacy or like he's focused on legacy. So yeah, him dying and saying that was on character for him. And as much as people hated his character, I thought it was pretty well done.
Yeah, I liked it.
Shout out to my mom. Yesterday I had dinner with her and we were talking about Game of Thrones like we do, as one does. And I was like, yeah, but he said he's a king and he wasn't even a king yet. Like he didn't even marry. She was like, no, mijo, he was a king. He was a king of the Iron Islands. I was like,
Really?
oh, that's right. She's like, he survived the Kingsmoot. And she started putting all these things together. I'm like, shout out to you, mom, like for binging this.
be our
this
next
series,
guest.
like, 3 or
Hey,
4
get
times.
David out of here. Let's get David's mom.
Hey, dude, what the hell?
And then, so Cersei's watching the destruction take place when Qyburn insists that they leave the Red Keep as it's unsafe anymore. And then Cersei starts crying, like not like hysterically, but you see the tears rolling down her face, and that's when you know she's
duped.
She's done. Like she's done for. Like, and then the city sketches. As the city burns, we see glimpses of wildfire exploding
That was
within
the
the
shit.
city. So I think it's just like leftover wildfire
It is,
that she had. I think maybe also it could have been a contingency plan. Like if the troops are marching towards the Red Keep, she just blows it up and takes them
I was
out.
gonna say, do you think it was like
Defensively.
to make her look even worse? Like had Daenerys, and she does burn down the city.
Well,
sorry.
they did.
She
say,
causes more destruction.
They say there was caches of it hidden all over King's Landing. So I just think it was the hidden caches.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now,
with the fire burning.
If she knew she had them, I would have been like, dumbass, how come you weren't launching those shits at the troops? Wildfire. I would have thrown at the, because wildfire can burn a dragon.
Well, yeah.
So
I think it was kind of like that too, where like if they were marching towards the Red Keep, and it's kind of like the barrier around Winterfell where they just lit on fire to keep the army of the dead at bay. I think it would have been something like that where they had in certain spots where they had to go through them to
Yep.
thin out the armies, but we just see them exploding. So I thought it was cool how they still had the little touch of like,
Yes.
oh hey, remember this? It's still there. And then the Hound and Arya make their way into the map room where you see the map on the floor. And the Hound tells Arya that she needs to go home or else she would die. She tries to walk past him, but he stops her and tells her that that he's been after revenge of his life and to look where it got him. She lets go of her revenge and thanks the Hound before he walks
that
away.
was beautiful.
She makes the choice to call him Sandor by his name out of respect.
Damn it, man. I love them.
I know. I was like,
And the way that he
Bro,
was
you
holding
go,
her, well, the way he was holding her was a way for her to understand that this is the end for him, and she still had more to do. Because she says like, "Oh, let's go kill her," and the Hound was like, "No, like if you take another step, if you go with me, you're gonna die. Like there's no coming back anymore." Because at this point, the destruction is going on, the building's falling down on itself, and he knows that there's no way out, like unless she leaves now.
and I like what he says. He's like, Cersei, she's dead already, or she's gonna be burned, or she's gonna fall. Like,
Yeah.
bitch, like she's dead.
Yeah.
So
You don't have to worry about Cersei dying. Just
Yeah.
And at first I was like, okay, like this is what like not Sansa. Arya does this whole like trek to King's Landing, and she's on her list, and she's still focused on killing Cersei, and then she kind of just like goes like, okay, well I guess she is already dead. Let me leave.
Yeah, like the whole season.
No, stop. but it makes sense because the Hound was able to talk sense into her, and like she respects the Hound enough to listen to what he has to say, and like she knows that the Hound isn't like just trying to convince her to leave just to leave. Like she knows that the Hound cares about her, and
Yeah.
and that's what she says thank you to him.
They had the most beautiful, like, I guess, send off with each other, like
Yeah.
inter-character send off. It was like the only good one that I felt.
Do you think they fucked on their way to King's Landing?
That's gross.
I'm sorry.
But
She's like,
yes,
but I
think they
use
did.
needle.
And then after this is when we get the fucking Clegane Bowl.
I thought it would be more Clegane Bowl, but it wasn't. It was still
fucking
good.
epic.
I think it was good.
It was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I loved
Because
it.
it was like a hateful fight.
Yeah.
I really wanted the Hound just to like maybe kick him off, and then the Hound gets away. But of course,
No.
that's just me wanting the Hound to stay alive.
But before
'Cause
this,
I love the Hound.
before the fighting starts, like Cersei, Qyburn, and the Mountain, and some other like Knights Guard. I mean, not Knights Guard, King's
or
Guard,
Queen's Guard, yeah.
Queen's Guard troops are coming down the staircase, and then the dragon kind of like blows up the staircase, and it falls on top of them, and then you see the Mountain just make a human shield over Qyburn and Cersei, and all the other troops are like getting fucking crushed and everything, and
and the
things
Hound
are-
fucks up three of the troops.
Three
Yeah.
King's Guard.
Yeah, well, before that, like the thing's falling on him, and the mountain's just there, and he's not even budging, and like everything's just bouncing off him, like big ass boulders and shit.
Oh yeah.
And you see the strength of the mountain, and the mountain is fucking massive and strong, so that kind of gives you an indication of what's to come when the hound cuts through 3 of those Queensguard, and then they start fighting. But it was cool how the mountain sees the hound and is like, "Hello, brother," and the mountain starts walking towards the hound, and Qyburn's like, "Stay with your queen," and Cersei's like, "Stay by my side," and he just ignores him. Like,
I like how he grabs Qyburn, like smash throw.
yeah,
He fucking doesn't he just throw him?
yeah,
Yeah,
he
first
just
he
throws
smashes him.
He smashes him against the wall, and then he throws him
right.
off. And then Cersei's like kind of like, excuse me, pardon
Gentlemen,
me.
yes, carry on.
They've showed a
Sorry.
meme from The Office where it's Dwight and Michael Scott, I think, and they're like about to fight each other, and then Jim just kind of like walks in between them, but it's like Cersei in front of the hound and in the mountain, just like
It's
walking
awesome.
by.
I love that. I like the way she's just like, like don't mind me, gentlemen.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then there's the epic fight. I thought it was epic. I like
It's
the
good.
way
It's great.
the way that it was going. Like the hound goes at the mountain before Keevan draws his sword, and he starts like hitting him, and the mountain's just defending himself with his arms and everything, and then he stabs him to the chest, and it goes through, and the mountain's just like, bitch, bitch stabs him.
So there's a really cool parallel where fucking Arya does that to the hound, and then he bitch slaps it. And then he does it to her, and like he didn't learn his own move. Like he got bitch slapped too. That was great.
And then the mountain just like pulls the sword out of his fucking gut and just like throws it away.
Drogon's flying over her head.
And in this battle scenes where we talked about earlier, do you think there's any more tell of like what's happening between the mountain and Arya? Like it's cutting from Arya kind of escaping, and then the mountain fighting, and then Arya escaping and dodging.
Like
shit,
when
and
he
the
got
mountain
hit,
fighting.
she got hit or knocked
like,
down.
what is it's just what is this?
I guess it was just trying to show like their connectedness. I guess like they're both in their own struggle.
Yeah.
And still trying, and still
loved
putting effort and moving on, pushing through. That's what I thought too.
Trying to fight the losing fight. You know what I mean?
So and then so he's being thrown. The hound is being thrown around by the mountain, and the mountain picks up the hound and just starts stroking him, and then he does his patented like hands or fingers in the eye
The
move.
viper.
Dude.
I love how he laughs when he's getting choked.
Yeah,
Like,
he's fucking cracking up.
I
dude.
can't believe I'm about to die to my brother again.
It's fucking great.
Yeah, and then he starts fucking stabbing him. He's like, "Why don't you die?" And he pulls out the dagger and starts stabbing him in the neck. And then the mountain goes for his eyes. And he's kind of like drawing blood already. And the hound just looks for his eye and stabs him right in the face, right in the eye.
Awesome.
Call back to Lady Mormont. No, just kidding. With the giant.
With the giant.
It was, dude. It was.
That's cool. But it was total like video game because like when his armor came off, I'm like, all right, you're halfway done.
Yeah.
Like
Right. All right, I'm at
Road Dragon's
25%.
yeah, you're about to finish it. He's gonna do a heavy combo to get you down, but you're gonna get him. You're real close. Just wait.
Yeah, and then he stabs in the eye. The mountain lets him go because he's trying to get the dagger out of his eye. And it's just so cool how all this damage is happening to the mountain, and he's still just like, I don't give a fuck. Like
Is it because of the Qyburn?
Yeah,
the
he's
Qyburn
He's just
part.
a zombie, dude.
and
Yeah,
he's a
he's
fucking
dead.
hard ass also.
Yeah, so it's like a hard ass zombie.
Yeah, and then the hound sees the wall kind of cracked and behind the mountain and tackles him through, and they fall
Into a fucking fiery
into
pit.
a fire pit. And that's the way we call it. The way they were gonna end each other.
Yeah.
So I thought it was epic, awesome.
R.I.P. to the hound.
Yeah, that was the best
Fuck the mountain.
story arc that was like wrapped up, in my
Yes,
opinion.
yes.
In the entire season series finale.
It was
Like,
true from the beginning to the end. Like his whole point. was-
underlying tones. It was true to his character. I thought it was beautiful. It was
Yep.
great. That was rewarding to me, even though he
Yes.
died.
And then Cersei makes her way to the map room alone, and she reunites with the bloody and hurt Jaime, and they embrace with tears in their eyes, and as the red keep falls around them, and also
And they fucking tease me by standing on the neck, and I'm like, here it fucking comes.
Y nada.
And nothing fucking happens. Okay, at this point, Jamie doesn't look too hurt. So I was like, okay, I thought that as they were holding, he was like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And I thought, like both hands were gonna come up, and you're gonna be like, wait, what the hell? Like, why is he using two hands? And then Arya, she's gonna reach for the face and like just scratch, and it's Arya behind the thing holding her and fucking killing it. And then like they were gonna pan off and like do like a quick like recap where Jaime's trying to make it, but he's bleeding out, and he just falls. He falls dead right in front of Arya, and she just takes his face. I thought that would have
been fucking awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, that would have been cool. But my thing was like, why would she take Jaime? Like, she really had no reason to do that. If that happened, she had no. I don't think she had any reason to take his face specifically.
He has like one of the most valuable faces in all of Westeros.
Yeah, but I think she does people wrong if they do wrong. If she believes that they do wrong to either her or somebody she knows. So
it would have been poetic if Arya killed her. I mean, Cersei.
Oh yeah, of course, because that was
her.
That's her mission. She's literally saying it out loud to everybody.
This
when
is
she's
when
traveling.
I start having a problem. From this point is when I have a problem with the ending of the whole show.
Well, and I'm coming about it like as you said, like I think people would have a problem with that. Like, wow, Arya kills the Night King and kills Cersei. Wow,
that's true.
What did Daenerys and Jon do? Wow, like that would have been the whole discussion.
Yeah, so instead they just went all flat tire.
I mean, no, Daenerys was the reason Cersei died. Like, she wasn't like one-on-one, like stabbing her in the gut or whatever, but throwing the fucking rocks at her. Like, but
no,
Daenerys,
I mean, okay, this is the problem. I'm sorry, this is the problem. The whole thing's okay. It's kind of like the evil villain, right? This is Cersei. She fucking schemed, plotted, killed, murdered, manipulated her way to the Iron Throne, whatever the fuck.
all her life.
Her whole life. And then I know some people are saying, oh, she died. She got the death she deserved because it wasn't glamorous or anything. But no, you're supposed to show the fall of a villain. Because all of a sudden now Daenerys is the villain. They did, but they did it in such a poor manner. It was such a cop-out. It's like she runs, she's holding Jaime, so she got her way anyway. She loves Jaime, and then the fucking ceiling falls on her. It's bullshit. It's so crap. They should have had at least a dialogue. Like, you know what? Daenerys lands in front of her or something.
I would have enjoyed
like,
it if
I'm
Arya
the queen
killed her.
now. You know what I mean? Because the prophecy was a queen will depose you.
and she did.
No, but she died before she gave up the throne. Like, you know what I mean? She wasn't deposed. Yes, she might have lost the city,
Isn't her dying being like
yeah,
the
it
whole
is. But
point
when
of
you're
it?
deposed, it's like another force comes and removes you, and then you're executed. You know what I mean? It's like, look, I'm going to take over David's job. I'm going to go take his job, and then I'm going to get rid of him.
But okay, fine. But what if you go and you like he cut his brakes and he on his way to work he can't brake and he dies.
Yeah, no, I know, but
like it still accomplishes the point of you going.
No. I'm going back to the story the show set up. I'm not saying what's right. I'm going back to the story the show set up.
And the books.
And the source material. So it's kind of like, yeah, she died. It's like they gave her a good ending for a wicked bitch.
Well, okay.
She should have.
Let's talk about the way they died. Like you mentioned it, the ceiling falls on her.
Right, sorry.
Jaime and Cersei make their way. They're trying to make their way out of the Red Keep, but the way he came under the. Was it the Mayor's Keep or
Mayor's Holdfast?
Holdfast, whatever. And that's where the dragon skulls are at and everything. And they're trying to make their way through there. But when they go down there, they see that everything's blocked off. And then they can't go back the way they came because, I mean, they're still going to die there. The whole point is to get out of the keep. So they kind of just give up. And at this point, Cersei's freaking out. It's like telling Jaime, like repeating, like, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Like, I want to live. I want my child to live. And she's freaking out. And Jaime's calming her down. It's like, hey, look at me. Like, nothing else matters anymore. And they embrace, and that's when you see the whole structure just fall on them. And I think it was a good. We can disagree, but I think it was a good death for her because, like I said, she died under all the weight of what she wanted to accomplish.
True.
Like it was more symbolic in that way to me.
Right.
And like yes, like you wanted the villain to have a ending like the Night King, like he gets stabbed and everything falls and all his zombies, like they die and they won the great battle and whatever. But Cersei,
I would have liked it if Arya killed her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if she got the justice that she wanted.
There should have been a dialogue. There should have been something. Like, Cersei, you're fucking ended. You know what I mean? Like, enough, bitch. It could have even been better if, like, Daenerys kills her.
Or
like,
even if she took her own life and she fucking committed suicide.
Yes.
Cersei.
Like
to not give anybody the satisfaction.
Or what would have been cool. Exactly. Because that's what she did with Stannis. She was going to kill herself. Like, fuck these people. They're not going to take me out. And, I mean, in a dream world, I would have loved Daenerys to like say land in front of her with her dragon and say like Cersei Lannister or Cersei of the House of Lannister, you know,
And breathe fire into the
or,
like
right or
the
like
corridors.
I
and shit.
Daenerys Targaryen take back what is mine. You will pay for the crimes of your father. You know, something a little dramatic.
Pizzazz, yeah.
Pizzazz, and then fucking eat her or cut her in pieces so Jon can be like, this fucking Daenerys bitch is crazy like Cersei. You know, there should have been a little more drama. It was such a blowing out a candle, like Cersei's dead. Fuck you, man. Sorry, I'm just saying. I'm very emotionally invested.
Yeah. I think that was good for me though. But yeah, no.
I know.
I just like that was great for me. Like just Jaime and Cersei dying in the arms of people, the person they loved, and just them having a moment together. Like that was it. That was it for me.
It was. Yeah, I mean, okay. All their outcome sounds amazing, but I like the way both of them died. I love the points, and I know it sounds hypocritical with me, but like had they explained it a little bit better, I would have been fine with what happened to them, because I loved how she was like begging for her child's life, and I'm like, oh, and then on Mother's Day they're gonna fucking kill her with her fucking pregnant baby. I'm like, oh, fucking die, you stupid bitch. And once it happened, I'm like, okay, it wasn't poetic the way I wanted it, but like you said, like there was other meaning, like with the whole weight of her entire world just came collapsing down on her, and I can see it that way too. But there could have been a much more poetic way or a more Game of Thrones way of ending.
Thank you.
And well, also like looking at it in a whole, in episode 6, the next episode, when Tyrion makes his way down to the Red Keep to go find Jaime and Cersei, like he sees that he's trying to check if they made it out, and he sees the golden hand, and he just cries over their bodies.
Yeah.
Like that moment, like whatever death or whatever, I feel like that moment was great to set up Tyrion's moment of him crying over their bodies. But let's wrap up this episode 6. I think we're gonna do a brief one, but we kind of episode 5. We're gonna do a brief one, but we kind of went a little further. We see Arya running through the streets, and she's trying to get away from the mayhem that's going on, all the destruction,
and all that, all the mayhem.
And she's being carried by the crowd, like she falls, and then that lady with the daughter helps her up, and they kind of separate each other because she's being carried by the crowd, and then explosions comes up, and she got like 6 concussions of just hitting herself in the head, and
she saves the little girl, and the little girl runs back to her mom, and Daenerys has her way with him.
Yeah,
she's like, "Mommy."
Yeah, so we follow the whole destruction from Drogon, not through Daenerys, but through Arya on the ground, and I think that was great to see just how bad it is, because it could just be in the air, and it's kind of like the drone program in the U.S. is doing, like they're just shooting at targets, they don't care what's happening, but the people on the ground see all this destruction, and that's the ones affected by it.
That was epic.
And that was a little long, but it was good.
I liked that it was long because it was like showing you just how bad it was, even though we already know how bad it was. And then Arya comes to, she gets blown up, she comes to, and everything is just burned into ash, and we see the little girl that she tried to save and her mom just embracing these charred bodies.
Yeah.
And the only thing left alive around is that white horse.
I thought they were going biblical, like she's on a pale horse. Like,
yeah,
here comes fucking death, and again, flat tire syndrome.
No, they tried to do that. Yeah.
This whole scene was shot beautifully, and ironically enough, because I didn't like the long night, but I thought the smoke and the chaos worked in here. It was crisp. It was, I don't know, the makeup was on point. Shout out to the score.
It was on daylight too.
Yeah.
I'm
saying like the smoke was still like, it was still a little, it was a lot, but I understood. Because I got enough. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
There's just 9/11 the fuck out of this place. And like, just a callback from.
It was one plane. I mean, dragon. Yeah.
God damn
one dragon.
And it was just like,
I don't like how that's
it was insane,
now.
Dude. It was insane. And then I'm like, man. And then when Arya gets up and she sees the horse and she pets it, and there's a calmness, like silence, and then she gets up, and I'm like, I bet you this is gonna pay off in the next episode. Guys.
Exactly.
It's gonna pay off. And then it just
sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
Just to go right ahead, like I wanted Arya to get out of there, and if a fucking jet came by and it's like, Arya, hop on, and they take her out, I would have been happy with that.
That's very Deus Ex Machina.
No, and I want to just say real quick, even though I have qualms with the storyline, it's the best television like made show. Like these last episodes were phenomenally made. So I don't hate the show. I'm just mad at the story.
So yeah, that was us wrapping up episode 5 of Game of Thrones. Now we're gonna move on to episode 6, the final episode, which is called The Iron Throne.
This one was directed and by both the Double D's. It was also written by the Double D's. And this episode felt like Game of Thrones to me. Like this was like all encompassing. Because like the conversations that happen. I know we're gonna get into it, but the conversations that happen where it's like, yes, this is the complicated situation. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Which route are you gonna go? And that's what Game of Thrones has been to me this entire.
Here's
series.
the answer, bitch. Right?
Instead of it being like, maybe they did it or maybe they won't. We'll just bring it up later. But it's just. Yeah. This was an excellent episode to me.
And it starts right after the battle that happened, or battle. It was
The massacre.
It was a massacre. You see Jon Snow, Davos, and Tyrion kind of walking through the ashes to the city and just seeing all the bodies just charred.
And the burnt guy walking towards him, he's just like coughing and like
his back.
Holy shit, that was insane.
Yeah, and then Tyrion says like he's gonna go to the Red Keep, or like he kind of like walks over there, and Jon's like, hey, let me send some men with you. He's like, no, I want to go alone. Because at this point, like, and I thought like, well, does he mean like talking to Daenerys is going to be dangerous? But then I remembered like there's still people that are alive in the city, so they might attack him, whatever. And we know that Tyrion wanted to go alone because he made his way to the Red Keep, and he tries to go see if Jaime and Cersei made it out, and then he finds their body under the rubble. And just the whole, like, him digging them out and looking at their bodies and just crying and just being devastated to see their
It was a long
siblings dying.
scene, no music, all silence, him
Great
walking
acting.
through. Phenomenal acting by Peter Dinklage as Tyrion. Him removing the rocks, and it was just, like, so surreal. Like, I had that Bose
He's the
700
last fucking
soundbar.
Lannister, dude.
Fucking incredible.
Tallest Lannister, too.
Now.
And he just sees the golden hand in the rubble, and I like how he goes from like being sad and distraught to like angry, because he shifts to anger.
Although I was holding my breath because I'm like, oh my god, what if they got out and Jaime just dropped his hand?
right? Yeah.
Fuck.
Me and my girl thought that too. Me and my girl thought that. Yeah.
It's like, bitches.
Just his hand.
Yeah, and I got teary-eyed there, like just seeing his crying, because when people cry, it makes me cry sometimes, and just the way he did it was great.
It was great.
And then you see Jon finds Grey Worm about to execute the remainder of the Lannister forces and tries to stop him and telling him it's over. Like, they're prisoners. They're not. And Grey Worm says, like, no, I have orders to execute every remaining Lannister army. Like the war's not over, or the battle's not over until our
enemies
are dead. And Davos is like, how much more do you want them to surrender? Like, they're already on their knees.
It's like they're still breathing.
Yeah.
Is what Grey Worm says.
And like Grey Worm goes to go.
He pulls out his fucking dagger thing, and John
Stops him.
cajones him. John.
Yeah, Jon stops him, and then the rest of them suddenly just kind of like get ready for a fight.
Yeah, Grey Worm's like, pull your dick out. They were both fucking like, damn, dude, it was about to go down.
John could pull his dick out, but Grey Worm couldn't.
Yeah, he can.
Shit,
He has to sit when he pees.
Do you think he still has his dick in the baggie though? Maybe, like he kept it.
Like Davos does with his fingers, maybe.
It's wrapped around his neck.
It's for good luck, puto.
Underneath his wife beater.
Yeah, that's racist. Leave that in.
So yeah, Davos kind of just tries to diffuse the conversations. Like, hey, we're all friends here. Let's go talk to Daenerys, see what's going on, and Grey Worm just like starts executing the rest of the men.
I feel, well, I like, shame on me, because after the Bells episode, I looked up the spoilers and asked around like what spoilers, and there was a spoiler on Reddit that said like Jon and Grey Worm go at it, like they fight, and I'm like, oh fuck, here we go, and
They fight with their eyes, Chico.
Crazy eyes.
Yeah.
Show the camera. Crazy eyes.
And then outside the gates of the city, the Dothraki are celebrating their victory. Jon pushes their way through the crowd of Dothraki and goes to the gate, where there's a big Targaryen banner. As Jon reaches the top, because he that's where he comes up the steps. Where is it? Is it at the Red Keep?
He's
Or
at
is
the
it?
Red Keep.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, because I thought it was kind of like the Sept area, because that's where they had the big staircase leading up to the Sept.
Yeah, I think it's because it's Magor's and then it's the Red Keep, because Magor's like a fortress castle and then you go into the Red Keep. So I think it was Magor's like where the armies assemble. And,
yeah, and they have the Dothraki.
and a new Dothraki horde after it got massacred. But okay.
Well, it's half, and they had thousands of them. So that's why I was a kid. Like I was watching it with my brother, and he was saying like, why is there so many of them? And I was like, well, I mean, they still had half of them. Like they didn't show them then, but they can show them now because they're all in one area.
Or were the other half zombies? Oh no, they're supposed to be dead.
Also, the Dothraki look kind of like Mexican, right? And then if we know anything about our families, we
Neta,
got big ass families.
Neta.
I mean,
It's like, no, hombre, es el primo.
yeah.
Acaba de llegar de allá.
So yeah, you see all the troops like aligned there, and he goes up the steps, and the big Targaryen banner just hanging from one side, and I kind of like Hitler-esque vibes of it. Just
hell yeah!
all them standing in formation and like, and I've maybe that's the way they do it in other countries like North Korea or whatever, like dictatorships.
We defeated our enemies.
That's racist.
What?
That voice.
America Team Police.
So yeah, Grey Worm. I mean, not Grey Worm. Jon makes his way up the steps. Grey Worm gives him a tense look, and then as we see Drogon and Daenerys fly in, and they land, and they have that great shot of
The wings.
the wings.
Yeah,
Daenerys walking, and Drogon's wings in the background, just being her wings, and I was like, oh my god,
I was like, that bitch
that's
from
fucking
hell.
awesome.
I was like,
I thought that was one of the best shots ever in the
Yes.
show.
Yep.
Not this
Agreed.
episode, the whole series. I fucking loved it.
Agreed.
And people were being like, "Wow, this is so fucking like cheesy." Like, yeah, it has to be cheesy. Like, what else you want it to be?
Fucking loved it.
Yeah, I didn't find it cheesy at all. I found it was good.
And then she walks out to address her army. There's cheering from them. Like, you took on their stone houses and you gave me the 7 kingdoms. She does the Dothraki, and then praises the Unsullied for being liberators. And she's speaking Dothraki and Valyrian, so Jon kind of doesn't know what's going on. But you can see him kind of like shift his face to like, okay, what's going on, to worried, because she mentions like, our fight is not over. Like, our war is just begun. Like, we're going to liberate everybody.
Mm-hmm. We'll come from Lannisport to Karth, from Winterfell to Dorne. I'm like,
I was like,
fuck
Winterfell?
you, bitch.
Ugh.
Don't mess with my 2 homelands. I'm half and half, yo.
And then Tyrion comes out, and he's looking like angry and sad about his brother and sister, of course. And he stands next to her, and Daenerys just kind of like looks over at him and just like doesn't really pay much attention to him. And then she tells him like, you betrayed me, like you fed your brother.
It's my favorite scene in the whole episode.
He's like, yeah, I did free my brother, but I didn't slaughter a whole city.
And then with his quarter arm, he takes off his little pin
And throws
chunks that shit. Fuck yeah, dude.
It reaches like the very next step below him.
I know I'm going to go to Lord of the Rings real quick, but that's when like Galadriel tells Frodo, even the smallest person can change the world. And he did. He's like, fuck you, bitch.
And I thought Tyrion was gonna like attack her. I had that tense moment
I
of
thought
like,
he was going to stab her with the pin or try
think
to.
so?
I felt
I just feel like
something.
he had his little like, you know,
'cause he was
his
like-
little moment of
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
not because he's little, but yeah, because he's fucking little though. But
yeah. And then
That little man had a little moment.
she has 2 guards take him away and put him in prison, and him and Jon kind of have a look at each other, kind of like, you know, what are you gonna do?
He's like, call me.
And then I like how before this, Arya was kind of like looking at Jon making his way through the crowd, and then she's there at the bottom, and then he looks to the side, and Arya's there like, hey, what's up? It's me, Arya.
At first I should be like scaling the roof, like looking for a way to attack Daenerys. I'm like, okay, cat skills, and it's like, oh no.
she has Drogon's face.
Yeah.
Stupid.
No, it'd be freaky if she had like Khal Drogo's face, like my moon and stars.
Oh, shit.
Sorry, just kidding.
At this point, I thought that Jon and her, I thought she was going to be like, Jon, you're the rightful heir.
Yes.
Let me do it.
Yes.
And I was like, oh shit, here we go. And then Arya can, if anyone's going to get out of it, it's going to be Arya. And then she can sail west and just settle on her own. Like, she can be a refugee for the rest of her life and get away with it because She's a faceless man. So I was like, okay, here we go. This is where Jon is gonna be king. Like I was like, all right, but
Flat tire syndrome.
And Arya tells Jon like, hey, like Sansa is not gonna bend the knee, and you're a threat to her still because you're claim to the throne. Like she's like, I know what killer when I see one. Talking about
I love that
Daenerys.
when she said that. She's like, she crazy.
And Arya should have said, let me take care of this bitch.
Exactly.
Like, and then because I was like, I felt it, and then it just like, okay, it's not going that way, and then it never comes back up.
I would have liked that.
I mean, Jon tells her like, just wait for me outside the gates of the city. Like, I'll find you. So Arya knows that he's gonna do something, because it's not like he's not gonna tell her like, let's run away, because he has no reason to run away. Like, you know.
Yeah, but the outcome of him doing.
She knows Jon. She knows he didn't agree with what Daenerys was doing. I think like Arya almost wanted him to leave. Like that's what I'm saying. Like we need to go. Like this bitch is fucking crazy.
And I think her telling him like, hey, like Arya, Sansa's not gonna bend the knee. You're still threat to her as her reminding Jon like you have to do something about it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
she was giving him the opportunity to do something. I don't know. Maybe I'm just projecting, but I feel like if Jon would have done anything, Arya would have gone for Daenerys because she still has to protect Sansa and her family. So just because they didn't show it, like they happened a different way, I feel like me projecting is that like Arya is gonna kill Daenerys if Jon doesn't. Yeah. So then Jon visits Tyrion in prison, and typical Tyrion, like first thing he asks is like, "Did you bring wine?" And I was just like, okay, let's go for that. And then they kind of go into a somber thing where you see Jon being conflicted of his feelings, and Tyrion telling him like, hey,
Varys was right.
Yeah, was it love is the death of duty?
Yeah.
And in this exchange, I feel like Jon was almost there of like he was like, you're right, and then he kids himself in saying, no, she's my queen. And then once he takes off, maybe he starts thinking about it more. He's like, you know what, I'm convinced you're right. You know, but I think in that moment he was kind of like...
Well, he gets convinced with the conversation they have right after.
And this is pure Game of Thrones. Like, he says indirectly, you have to do this.
You have to kill her.
You have to kill her. And it's either you go against your honor or you do it to save the realm. So which one is it going to be? Which is, Jon's always been about honor. And now... And the realm. So which one are you going to choose now that you have to choose between the two?
And he repeats the words that Maester Aemon said.
Oh, like
right. I said, duty is the death of love.
I missed that quote.
It's like season 2 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's kind of saying like, yes, like you love Daenerys, but you have to put that aside to save everybody else. And I think Tyrion kind of mentions like she's not gonna stop like until every city is liberated, and like look what liberation is. Like for her, because she's celebrating the liberation of King's Landing, but it's a total destruction of it.
Yep.
So it's not like him being like, oh, maybe she'll change later on. Like, no, this is her way of doing it.
It's the beginning.
Yeah, this is her way of doing it, and he's.
Sorry, I didn't keep a timer for this, so just keep an eye, Alex. As soon as it goes out, the audio's fine. We'll just put a picture over it while we cut.
Okay, we start again.
Sorry.
Wait. Where were we?
Daenerys.
The whole like love is the death of duty, and that whole exchange.
Okay.
Of like how Daenerys is gonna liberate. Like,
okay,
she's not gonna change.
Silence, and then. So yeah, so he kind of like ends his visit, and he's conflicted. Like Jon's conflicted of what to do, and so he goes. He goes to see Daenerys in the throne room, and Daenerys is just looking at the throne, a little smirk on her face, and she walks towards it and barely gets able to touch it.
The score here was fucking awesome.
She should have sat on it and got cut, because every king that gets cut on the Iron Throne has a horrible death. So they should have done that for the book fans. That's a book thing.
Oh, okay.
Like when they sit on the throne, like there's been many Targaryen kings, like they'll sit and cut themselves, and then something bad happens to them. So I wish you would have done that and got up quickly, because the Jon would be like, "Oh, I cut myself." Yes, you did.
That would have been a cool nod.
Yeah.
Right.
But she walks over, like you said, and it's very reminiscent of the visions from season 2, Where she goes, she grabs the hilt of one of the swords, and then Jon walks in through the back.
And before this, like, is it all ash that's falling on the city, or is it snow?
I think it's probably a mix.
Yeah, because it was starting to rain in King's Landing when Jamie left, but it kind of didn't happen. It was still kind of.
Well, there's snow sometimes, and there's no snow.
So okay, this is taking place. This in my head, or because this is the only way that I've seen it.
It's like a month after.
I think this is like the day after.
What, her in the throne room?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like right after.
Right after.
Oh, yeah. No.
So this can't be snow. It has to be
the ash.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it just looks like snow.
It's like 9/11, dude. Like, you saw the people running out of there. They were covered in ash.
It's horrible.
And Drogon's like covered in it, and like Jon's walking into the Red Keep.
Awesome effect.
That was the shit.
He just like wakes up, and
I think that was snow though, Drogon, because it looked white.
It was all ash.
It could have just been like kind of like a nuclear winter where like it blocks out the sun, and then like it starts
cold. Oh, that's smart.
So it could be like something like that.
They just dropped a nuke, and then that makes sense. That's cool.
But yeah, and then he sees her in the throne room. She touches the throne, and she was about to sit on it. And I was like, "Oh yeah, sit on the fucking throne, Danny. Sit on it." And then nothing happens.
Is that what you call your dick?
Yeah. Make you a queen, baby. But yeah, she sees Jon, and she starts like saying like, "This is all I worked for," or whatever.
Complete Sith Lord. Like, her whole view is super jaded.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is so fucking
It's like, I'm
cool.
gonna liberate people and like show them what's good. And that's when it said, like, Jon says, like, what about what they think is good? It's like, well, they don't have a choice. Like, I'm gonna liberate them.
They can't decide. They don't get to decide. And
Yeah.
that's where Jon's like, I have to kill her.
Yeah.
I love you, my queen.
And he kind of has an issue with what she did also, and she'll tell him like, "Why you have Grey Worm executing people?" And she's like, "It's necessary." He's like, "What do you mean it's necessary? Like, they already surrendered."
Have you been out there? Have you seen what you did?
No, you're flying your fucking Rolls Royce up in the sky, burning people.
Children, women, and children.
I love that part. The way he says it. There's children, Danny. It's like, yeah, you don't care.
I forgot to mention real quick. I just want to say before we keep going, when Jon starts seeing like the mayhem in the last episode of like the dragon and the bells and all that shit, in his head he's probably like, I fucked my aunt, and then there he's like, fuck my aunt.
God damn it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that.
That was good.
So he, sorry, go ahead. You gonna say something?
No, go ahead.
So at this point, like, he's still conflicted, and he says, "You are my queen now, Noise," and they kiss. But she asks him to help her break the wheel, like, together. Let's be together. Let's do this together. And he tells him, like, "You're my queen now, Noise," and they kiss. And you see him kind of like
He pulls a Ramsey.
You see him kind of like pull something out and stabs her in the heart, and catches her as she falls, and as she dies. So I don't know. I thought
her head rocks back, and she's like, this bitch.
That would have been awesome if he was like, "Long reign the true king."
Right. Just
And then he gets on Drogon. Game of Thrones, that bitch just boom and flies off.
yeah, and I had that meme on my head where it's like the guy that like gets slapped in the face is like, "I can't believe you've done this." I don't know if I've seen it, but yeah, she just looks at him and she doesn't say anything, and she starts to bleed out and die, and Jon just cries, and you see just a hurt like of knowing that it's the right thing to do, but having to do it is still hurting him. Like, he's not like killing somebody like the way and enjoying it. Like, he knows.
And in the background, you can hear a rustling, and it's fucking Drogon, like,
just kind of sensing.
reaches, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he comes up and like just stares at Jon with Daenerys in his arms, and like
Jon moves out of the way, and Drogon starts to sniff Daenerys' body and shit.
I like the way he nuzzles
Total
her.
like Mufasa Simba moment where he's like, "Mom," like, I felt that.
And then he looks like he's about to like burn Jon. Like, you see the fire forming in his throat, and then he throws it to the side and burns the Iron Throne and melts the Iron Throne completely.
And I mean, dragons are a lot smarter than what people think.
Yes.
So I understand. Like, to me, it was like he knew that his mom was driven mad for the throne, and that's what caused her downfall. Like, to me, because like what dragons are like demigods in Game of Thrones. Like, they're
Would you also say that
godlike.
the dragon knows that Jon's Targaryen?
Well, yeah.
that
If
too.
you notice after he like melted the Iron Throne, he almost like bows to Jon. If you know, like if you watch it, his like head goes down, almost like he
Like
wanted
it's
Jon to jump on his neck, but then he grabs Daenerys.
That was a weird grab, though.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like it was like the hook of the wing at first, and then it was in his hand. You know
My girl was like, "Oh, a dragon could pick up a fucking human, but Jon can't pet a fucking dog."
Ned.
Well, we'll get to that in a bit, but yeah, people were complaining like, "Wow, Drogon's so smart. He sees pointy thing in Daenerys, and he looks over and sees a throne with pointy things. You fucking throne!" And that's like melting it. It's like no,
You killed my mother.
like no, like he knows. I'm pretty sure he knows Jon did it, and it was because of the throne, and he took his anger out on the throne. But he knows Jon as a person, like maybe not like with talking to each other, like because he's a fucking dragon, he doesn't speak, but he senses the way that Jon is, the honor that Jon carries around with him, and he knows that he didn't do it just to kill Daenerys because he's an evil person, but because it was the right thing to do.
I mean, I don't think Drogon knew who killed him. You know what I mean? I just think like she's dead and I'm fucking pissed. I think that's what happened. I mean, that's me, right? Like, I mean,
you could
like,
smell, you can smell Jon's scent on the sword.
I think I could go either way.
That's true. You're
You know?
right. You're right.
I could go either way. Like
You're
no
right.
matter
He's
what,
like, my stepdad wouldn't kill my mom.
no matter what, like Jon didn't get killed by Drogon, and Drogon took Daenerys away, and whatever you think he was thinking, because they don't
What do you
say
think he's
it.
taking her?
I would have been
I,
like,
I would have loved to see him flying over Valyria.
yeah.
I would have fucking loved that.
I would have been like, oh, Daenerys left. Hello, Jon Snow, or like Arya pop out, like, hey, just say she left. Like, what's the big deal? Like, come on, dumbass. I'm serious.
Yeah.
All this was unnecessary. Think about it.
I
The dragon
did think
flew
about
away
that.
with her.
That like, oh, she's just gone. They
Yeah.
could just
Yeah,
kinda
but
gonna
but
die
then
with it.
but then
I'm
like
like, I know nothing. I would have been like, I'm Jon Snow. I know nothing.
but
She
then
left.
after that I was like, well, she's been gone for a while. Like, what do we do? Like,
Oh, maybe she fell off her dragon. Oh,
like
oops.
like that would have been dumb. That
Yeah.
would have been dumb.
No, I know, but it's just everything else was pretty dumb afterwards.
No, that
If-
would have been really dumb.
If he hadn't, since Drogon, we obviously know Drogon didn't kill Jon, but like if he would have killed Jon, that would have been the end of the Targaryens entirely.
It kind of is because
Killed out the Targaryens in a way.
because weeks later, Grey Worm escorts a dirtied and grimy Tyrion to the dragon pit, and then we see a bunch of people there, and we kind of don't get a clue on who they are until it moves closer to him. And it's Sansa, Brandon Stark, Arya Stark, Yara Greyjoy, Ser Brienne Tarth, it's just night now. Sir Davos, Gendry, Samuel, Jon Royce, Rob Aaron with the fucking glow up, Edmund Tully, and some other people that are there.
There's a Martell, the new prince,
Oh, yeah.
and I don't know who the other noble guy is.
Oh yeah, one sitting by the stars.
Yeah, I didn't know who. Like he's just there.
I think he was like a northern. He was
Yeah.
a northern man, and they kind of form a console to see what's gonna happen next. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I had like this was I loved the whole episode, but one continuity error that I had was like Grey Worm knows that Daenerys never takes prisoners, ever. You're either with her or against her.
Yep.
And the fact that they kept Tyrion and Jon alive, that kind of upset me. At least if one of them would have died in the cells
he
or
should
whatever.
have killed.
Like through the
Jon
consistency
Snow.
of what Grey Worm holds
Yes,
inside him.
because
Exactly.
he knows that she does not take prisoners. She burnt the Tarleys. The Tarleys were not bad. Like she said, bend the knee, and Tyrion says, take them as prisoners. Let them understand why they should be on our side. And she was never about the prisoners in the entire series, and that was kind of like Grey Worm fucked up.
No, I thought about it in this way because it's kind of like a military coup. Like the military is in charge of King's Landing right now because they have no ruler, they have no king, and that's what they're trying to decide right now. And when Sansa tells, or the Grey Worm tells Sansa, like they have to do something about Jon, and it's like we have to execute him or we have to kill him, whatever. And Sansa tells like, look outside your gates. We have thousands of men, like ready to fight if you do something to him. And he responds like, we have thousands of Unsullied also. So I think like him taking the prisoner, like Jon as prisoner instead of executing him, was like him weighing his options and being like, we need him alive still.
Or maybe it was grief because his queen died. Like he lost everything too, like Grey Worm.
Yeah.
But it did seem out of character. Like it just as a coup.
But
you know
also,
what I mean?
but also, I mean, Jon isn't just a fucking random Lannister soldier or
Well,
like
she knows.
troop.
He did know she loved him.
Yeah.
Grey Worm did know.
He wasn't just a random person. Like he was somebody of importance, and he is somebody of importance. Like not just to us as the viewers, but to the people around him. Like
Let's get through the scene because I have a little bit of a way I think we could have had a better ending for Jon because it was. I was very taken back by the way they treated Jon. I mean, it was fitting. It was bittersweet because he got to live or whatever. But yeah, I want to go into that once you wrap up the scene.
So yeah, Tyrion is brought up around this council of people trying to decide on what to do with Tyrion, and they kind of say like, well, we can't really bring down the sentence because we have no king or queen, and they're trying to. It's like so. Guillermo's like, all right, well then decide on who is ruler, and here's when Edmund, which is
Tully.
I love that
Edmund
part.
Tully comes up.
But this is the most important time in our lives, I guess.
Yeah,
One of the most
Sounds
important
Sit down,
decisions
Uncle.
And he's like, as a veteran of 2 wars and blah, 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 he's trying to make himself look like fill out his resume. And Sansa's just like, Uncle, sit down. Like, you don't get to speak.
Shut your bitch ass.
And everybody just kind of like laughs at him and sits him down. And then nobody's speaking up until Sam's like, well, what if everybody decides?
The only man of reason.
And then they're all,
Like, what if I was like, what if everybody decides? What if everybody gets a say on this? And like, and then was it Royce is like, well, yeah, let me ask my horse about it. Like,
Yeah. I was gonna say, I told David earlier about this that like, what if like that's like a nod to now where it's like, right now we do think that we as people get to vote, but what if it's really just the powers that be that they have all the decision making?
true.
Like that can also be
Meta.
like,
yeah, that's true. But and also like they've been in a monarchy for millennia, like since the beginning of time. So democracy is like a foreign thing to them. Like it's almost laughable, and they do laugh about it like pretty hard.
And there's the only semi-democracy was Valyria, the freehold, but it was like the Greeks, like only the nobles could vote, but there was like thousands of them. So that was the closest thing to a democracy.
And then it's kind of everybody's just again like looking around, not saying anything, and Tyrion comes up.
Sansa's holding her breath like, say me.
Yeah. And Tyrion kind of says like, hey, you know what unites people? It's not wars. It's not like some of the stuff. I forget what he says.
Money.
it's a story.
It's a story. And who has the best story here but Bran the Broken?
I really agreed with that. I like the fact he became king.
Yeah. The Bran was the kid that became broken, and he went above north of the wall and came back.
Crippled.
And yeah.
Became the three-eyed raven, and
I was
he has
like-
our memory and all this shit.
I was like, who has the best story there? I'm like, Arya killed the fucking Night King.
Yeah.
Like, she's got the best story of them all.
And then Sansa was like, oh, yeah, but he can't have children.
He's
So
got no dick.
so how do,
Dick
And then
don't work.
Tyrion says, "Good. They won't what? They won't.
He won't have princes and
That would torture or something.
Yeah. That would like ruin our lives or whatever."
Yeah. And Grey Worm kind of agrees. Like, he's kind of like, this is what our queen wanted for the wheels to be broken. Like, our next king is not going to be born. He's going to be chosen. And just the way Bran is being chosen right now.
Yeah, through the nobility. Yeah, they all get a vote.
And so, yeah, they all vote, and everybody says aye. And then when it gets to Sansa, she's like,
Brexit.
the Northern men are not going to want to bend the knee again. So we want our own, like, kingdom. And Bran agrees, of course, because it's her sister.
I love that it's like Stark power, baby. It's like we control everything now.
And also, like, before was it before the Targaryens? The Starks were already independent to begin with,
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So it's just going back to
And they were the first ones to kneel out of all the kingdoms. I mean, kneel freely without war or something.
so they get that, they get the Queen of the North. And then they talk about Jon, like what to do with Jon, and Grey Worm wants to execute him. Sansa wants to get him freed, and that's what you said. Like, there's two things that they have to balance out. Like, either they free Jon and the Unsullied and them don't have justice, or they let Jon go. Or they kill Jon and the Northern men are angry and attack.
what I thought would have been a great poetic ending for Jon, because obviously at this point, I know there's gonna be a montage as to where everybody's going, but had Grey Worm said, "I want his head," that would have been fitting to me.
Yes.
As a man who was so noble, just like his father, he was noble till his dying day, and he had to kill his queen. And obviously, the sentence for somebody who kills their queen should be death. And in Jaime's case, he got away with it because his father came in and they took over King's Landing after Aerys was killed. And so that I thought, like, had they brought Jon out and they said, okay, for the murder of Daenerys Targaryen, we sentenced you to death, and then they cut his head off, and then we move forward.
I think he would have appreciated, like,
Yes.
Jon would have appreciated that.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, he would have been like, okay, you know what? Yes, fitting. A king's death.
I killed my
fucking,
queen.
like, if that happened, I would be like, how fucking humble can you be? Right? Fucking Jon.
The humblest dog.
Dude. Yeah, I can see that because it's, you were saying earlier, you were telling me, you're like, sometimes you can't do just good. Like, no matter how much good you do, sometimes they'll still fucking cut you up, you know?
Because he didn't play the Game of Thrones. He was just a humble, great person throughout the entire thing. He saved the realm. And, like, even then, like, you committed the highest form of murder and you killed the queen. They should have cut his head off, and then that should have been it. They should have finished his storyline there.
I'm like nerd raging right now. Okay, let me step in real quick. Okay, so if you want to go through the line of succession that Westeros is known for, as soon as Daenerys is dead, Jon is the king. So they really had no authority to say whatever. They could have just told whatever to Grey Worm, and then Jon would have been back, they would have left, and he could have been king. Like, they didn't have to follow any stipulations. It's kind of like saying Chinese communists took over Washington, D.C., and we have to, I don't know, send all the Mexicans to Canada because they said so. If not, they're going to hurt the city. But once we agree, they leave. You think we're going to do that? No. That's where I had a problem with this.
You don't negotiate with terrorists because he's not representing a house.
No.
He's not
and
doing
he
anything.
did the action that needed to be done to save the fucking country. So why is he being made, as a scapegoat and exile and punished when he saved the North? And that's what I'm saying. They fucking did him wrong.
And
dude.
how poetic would it have been if the council said, Jon, we want Jon as king. The fucking person that's in jail for murder, they make him king. Imagine had they done that.
Yeah.
Like, that. There's so many ways it could have gone.
You guys are forgetting something, I think.
This isn't the story that they wanted to tell.
Jon is the one that gave himself up.
Right.
It's not like he like got captured by the Unsullied. Like, oh, you killed Daenerys. Like, he gave himself up. He told him what he did. He stabbed her through because the body's gone. So how do they know that like he stabbed her through the heart? Like, he told them like, I did this.
Right. No, but I'm saying the Westerosi lords. The Westerosi lords wouldn't have swallowed that bullshit. They would have been happy she's dead. You know what I mean? He has a rightful claim to the throne. They're all about rights and inheritance.
But this Eastern scum comes in.
But they're looking
exactly.
They're looking for a new ruler. They're on board of having a new ruler.
And half of the council would have agreed, or even more. You had Brian of Tarth. You had Davos Seaworth. You had the Starks. You had fucking even Tully, Sam.
But also at this point, the Unsullied control the city. So they have to negotiate with them.
And that's what I'm saying. They should have said, okay, whatever, give us Jon back. You're gone. Now we can do what we want. But I didn't like the fact like they punished Jon.
So, but you guys think that Jon would have been okay with him coming back? Like if they're like, okay, give us Jon, we're gonna send him out to the wall, because they send him to the wall, and then suddenly leave to Essos, and they'd be like, all right, Jon, you can come back now. Like, Jon wouldn't have been okay with that either.
Well, then we should have heard it from Jon. Because it just felt so.
You guys just talked about how much honor and stuff Jon had and whatever. Like, you should have killed him because he would have been okay with him being killed because that's his honor.
Right.
So why you have to hear him, Jon, be like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to come back because
and that I believe. I could see him turning it down. Yes, give him the option. But I'm just saying the fact that Jon was so ragdolled. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the whole point. And then don't even get me into his whole like his lineage. The whole point of the fucking series. The whole point of why he was a bastard. The whole point he got sent to the wall. The whole point Jon's fucking his dad got beheaded. And then for this, it's such a... That's why I've been saying flat tire. It's like, oh, let's go for a ride. We can't. The tire's flat. Because that's what they did. They fucking just...
We kept saying how Jon didn't want to be ruler. Didn't want to be king.
Right.
So why not give Jon what he wanted to stay in the
Okay,
north.
he didn't believe in himself, but everybody else believed in him.
That's why he's the right king. But he didn't have to be king.
He didn't have to be king.
He could have been.
They could have
Bran.
killed him off.
Yeah.
And said like that's what he had to do. That's what he had to pay for his thing. But now they're saying, oh, just go to the fucking wall. Like I felt so.
It was such a shitty orgasm. You know what I mean? And then,
but it was still an orgasm.
yeah, no, and think of it this way. Now, Manuel doesn't get real fucking technical, asshole son of a bitch. Now, look. So if you want to go political, Westeros and now the New North. We'll call it the New North, where the Starks live. The wall is in the New North. So who in the fuck are they to tell Sansa or Jon that Jon has to stay at the wall when one, you don't need the wall anymore. There's no more wildlings.
They address that though. Like
Or,
they have to have. Sorry.
Go ahead.
They have to have a place to exile people to.
But
And
why in
that's-
another country?
That's just the way it is. Like we send people to Cuba to
then-
Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, no, true. But we own that piece of prison. Second, Sansa's the queen. You think she's gonna be like
Send your
oh,
prisoners this way.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's like,
But
no,
they're
she's gonna do
they're
what
at the
she
wall.
wants.
They're not just running
But there's
free.
no point of the wall.
There's no point.
The whole point is to exile people
It's
there.
like Australia now. Well,
It's to exile people there, like to make them work and do all this stuff, like and yeah, they don't have a reason to be there, but it's just there to be there. Like it's either that or be running in this jail cell. And Sansa and Arya are kind of like, yeah, send him to the wall because he's still gonna be alive. He's still gonna live his life, but just over there.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying it's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like making Superman a janitor. You know, like, oh, that's the ending of your comic book story. Go pick up the spill in Aisle 4. No. You know what I mean? There should have been something.
They didn't do anything with the Azor Ahai. They didn't do anything with the Prince that was promised. They didn't do anything with John's big secret that was from episode 1, episode 2 and on. There was no payoff.
Yeah, there you go.
There was no payoff as far as John. But that's why I said it was bittersweet when he gets sent to the wall. I'm like, okay, he gets to live. He gets to party with Tormund. He gets to get his dog back, and he loved it in the north, like at the wall. That's cool. But I'm just like, I just don't get. It didn't make any sense. Like the whole underlying tones, everything that they built, it didn't make sense for John.
I think it did. Absolutely, it did.
No, I mean, okay, it makes sense, but it makes
sense because that's the story that they told us.
Yeah, but it's not a good story because it doesn't go with the rest of the storyline. It doesn't. It's like saying you're watching Freddy Krueger movie and then at the end it's
Jason.
It's Jason making dolls. Oh, great.
It wasn't even that much of a left turn for it to be like compared to that.
Kind of.
It's not like John ended up in Dorne and be like, oh yeah, you're gonna live your rest of your life in Dorne. He ended up where he ended up at the north.
That would have been hot, both climate and I'm just kidding. No, but yeah. I mean, it's like he gets exiled to a place that's useless in another country that's his homeland. I don't know. It's just,
what else
Where
do
his
you
friends
want?
hang out.
What else do you
It's
want?
like his old frat house.
It's like he's under house arrest. Like
I agree with David. They should have executed him, or even better, rewrite the story. What should have fucking happened is the Night King should have attacked last.
Oh, actually,
that's
just
what this whole thing.
Just because you mentioned that, if you fucking sign the petition to rewrite the story,
No.
fuck you.
No, I'm not gonna do that.
Fuck you.
Not
That's
rewrite
all right.
the story. Just redo season 8.
Yeah,
So
but
that-
I'm
so
against
that
that
makes
too.
sense. Yeah, I mean, that was dumb.
But I'm just saying this is why the Night King should have been the last battle, because then if Jon and Dany died after that, it would have felt more heroic. Remember, this is a fantasy. There's supposed to be like some kind of like ending, like hopeful ending. Yes, Bran is the king, and I like the fact that Bran's the king.
But do you think maybe they destroyed that when it was that first season of Game of Thrones that set the standard for the show by killing fucking Ned Stark, and he was such a great character and good?
Yeah.
They kind of set the tone for themselves.
But you see,
they set the
it
tone.
was Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
There was stipulation.
Well, okay. What is that not stipulation of Jon getting exiled, Sansa becoming Queen of the North, Arya going west of Westeros, and kind of Tyrion like his punishment?
But the thing you're talking about Sansa, her storyline, her story arc makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Arya,
So does Arya.
her story ended with the Hound,
Okay.
and now she's like, I have nothing else to do. I'm going to go
west.
start my own spin-off show. I'm going west.
Yeah.
That made sense. The Hound dying to the mountain, that made sense. Jon having to kill Daenerys, that made sense.
Yeah.
What they did to Jon, it feels like a betrayal of the Game of Thrones overall. Like
of the universe, of the whole Game of Thrones universe.
I disagree so much. Jon being sent to the wall was like, that's where his story started in the beginning, like being sent to the wall because he was a bastard.
It's like they sent Jon away with no purpose.
And
that's what
most of his story was at the wall and in the north. So why not end it at the wall and at the north?
I hated the storyline at the north. It fucking drove me insane. Okay, so moving on.
Can we talk about one good thing that I liked? Well, besides the whole episode.
You obviously loved everything in the
Sir Patrick Payne.
That
he
was
becomes a fucking knight.
pure okay.
No, he becomes a Kingsguard.
After
He's a knight then.
Yeah.
After this,
he's like a super fighter now.
everything that they do from this point on, we don't have to go through every fucking scene from here on out. Podrick is part of the Kingsguard. Fan service, loved it. A Song of Ice and Fire book presented
Hated
to
it.
loved it.
I
fucking
hated
loved
it.
it.
I rolled my eyes so far back. I felt like I was worrying like.
No, you know why? No, you know why? Because it wasn't a Song of Ice and Fire, the whole story. Because it didn't happen. That's why I got pissed. So all the book readers are nerd raging like me. It's like, really? You're going to fucking do that? You're going to say a Song of Ice and Fire when nothing fucking happened? No Ice and Fire happened, you sons of bitches. Sorry.
Because if you think about it, if Ice and Fire, they fizzle out, it's just steam, and that's what the finale was. It's that's it. That's it. Okay, now I have. Okay, so the fan service, I thought it was super cute that Sam had. You're the only one at this table shaking his head. I love that Sam had his little chain. He doesn't have all the links yet.
Yeah, he just abandoned his wife in his house.
That's fucking cool.
That's cool.
I mean,
that made no sense.
They don't show that though. You're just making assumptions. Like I guess I am too, but like
when you're a maester, you give up your family and your house.
They fucking broke all the rules already. They have a king that's.
He got pardoned by a queen.
Yeah,
that's true.
He got pardoned by a queen.
I know I'm not saying shit. I love watching all this bickering. The thing is, you want to be right so bad, and you guys are just making.
We're making valid points.
You're making points of what you wanted.
Yeah,
and he's just talking about what we got.
So here's what I'm gonna say. Let's go through the fan service parts. Yes, Jon Snow gets to pat.
And I agree with both of y'all.
Ghost,
like, yeah, that's what we got. And then
him getting to his closure with Ghost was great.
Tormund,
Brienne,
great.
Beautiful ending for her having to write Jaime's finale, and he saved his queen. That was fucking incredible.
And he mentioned like him keeping his vow to Catelyn Stark.
Yep.
So just
that was nice.
All the honorable stuff that Jaime did that like people didn't see. Because what was the theme? The theme that Jaime had the smallest biography.
Nobody was. Yeah, who would fill it out for him? Because he hadn't done anything good.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't read the whole page, but I wonder if it had anything to him saving the kingdom by killing the king.
Yeah,
in the book, it tells you, like when you read the books, and he's so embarrassed because he has to write with his left hand, and it's so horrible. So it's like a child's writing it, and he's just like, "Oh my god, this is my life now." But it's so good. Okay, sorry, yeah.
But so that was beautiful fan service. Loved it.
Fucking cried.
She's to me. I assume she's and I shouldn't assume. I wish I was told she was the head of the Kingsguard.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, she is.
Y'all notice the ravens on the breastplate?
Didn't see that.
They had ravens, like the Kingsguard had ravens, the three-eyed raven.
That's cool. What else? Bronn didn't. I thought it was pointless. He didn't have to be there. I don't know why. Now he's the richest man in.
He's the Lord of Highgarden. Of course, he has to be there. He's the master. He's the master coin because he's the richest man.
I just wish they would have showed me.
They told you already that they were going to give him Highgarden.
Yeah, when he goes up
through
to
Daenerys. But I understand. He filled out his thing. That was fan service. It was great. I loved it. I like Bronn, especially the whole argument with the whole brothel stuff. That's pretty cool. What else? Who else was on the council? Davos was there. Loved
Master
it.
Ships.
I thought that he should have gone with Gendry. That's just me.
Like his hand?
Yeah, as his hand.
Or, well, yeah, he wouldn't get a hand, but he'd be like an advisor. Gendry, yeah.
Well, I mean, Master Ships or advisor to Gendry, I think you would have chosen Master Ships.
That's true.
So we got all those fan servicey parts, especially with Tyrion, like finally sitting at the Hand's chair, adjusting the seats. All that. So it was great. Loved all that. I wish Bran would have warred and we could have seen what Drogon was up to. That's just me.
Well, let me go find him.
The whole little thing was like, so do you have any word on Drogon? And I think Sam's like, well, this last saw him wear stuff, and then Braun interrupts him like, oh, we don't need. As long as he's so far away from us, we don't need to know. So yeah, that was kind of like kind of keeping his location secret for whatever reason, and Braun's like, okay, let me go find him, and they're like, all right, well,
I hope it's.
And it's like, do you have a master of whisperers? And it's like, why? You see everything. You don't need no master whisperers. You just touch the weird word.
I think it was just to like fill out the.
Yeah,
the
I don't know.
console.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like.
Then we move over to how many scenes do you have left? Is it just them going to the docks? And
Yeah,
wishing
going to the
John
docks
goodbye?
and seeing
Saying
the
their
goodbye.
farewells, yeah.
Obviously, great call with Arya going west. That was awesome. The one little quick quote from the series prior, and so that we got fulfilled. That was great. Her fucking ship with the direwolf in the
That was
front,
badass.
awesome, fucking
Yeah,
awesome.
the fucking
No, the
Stark banner.
aesthetics of the show was phenomenal. I'm just mad at the story, but everything was great.
Sansa's armor, like her guard,
Fuck yeah,
fucking
dude.
great.
Howard,
Even her crown, the two dire wolves, like one's higher than the other.
Oh, I didn't see
Yeah.
that.
Howard
Oh,
cut,
Sansa's crown, yeah.
and like Howard cuts from like following them walking through the halls at Winterfell all the way to the throne. Arya's like cutting through her ship when she walks like there, and then Jon walking through the Castle Black and going out. You know. Like,
Oh, and real quick, Mr. Honorable Jon Snow, he leaves the wall and goes with the wildlings.
I
He's
think-
not ranging.
I think he's gonna go find them a home because it's all of them like leaving together.
Did you notice that when they were walking, and they said like they could have cut the episode off right when he turned back and saw the doors closed or whatever, because he was gonna go north of the wall. But there's like a sapling, like in the snow as
Yeah.
they're walking through.
A
And I'm like,
sapling?
hey, the spring is here.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
There's a
see
sapling.
that.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a sapling.
Oh
there.
shit!
I'm
Like
like, that's
so then-
fucking cool.
This grass like starting to grow.
That's true. The last book is called The Dream of Spring.
So, we had a tense conversation, but I want to say this. Yes, I was upset, and I know you were upset, and you loved it because, and this is the reason why I feel you loved it, and the reason why I feel a little let down. I like the series as a whole. The last season felt too rushed. I wish we would have had 10 episodes. Flesh things
I don't disagree
out.
with you there. I felt it was rushed too, but
I wanted it more fleshed out. I didn't want to have to assume things. I wanted real canon, not head canon. Like, oh, maybe because he said this, or maybe because they did that. And I was really let down because I have talked to Manuel about the books a lot, and I saw the show, and I've seen the series maybe 7 or 8 times through entirely. Every season that it would start, I would rewatch it. And then this season happened, and I was a little upset because, yes, this is not the story that we wanted to hear. This is not the story I wanted because I had my head canon.
it's not the story that was promised.
No, it was not the story that was being told.
Yeah,
it changed.
it changed. Yes, and I accept that. But I just felt bad because like the books set up such a great foundation, and then there was no payoff. There was because like obviously they're going off of bullet points from George R. R. Martin, and it feels like they went off bullet points from George R. R. Martin, and I get it. You may have found, and so there was like me not knowing what was coming next, and me being disappointed with the outcomes, really hurt me. That on my own because I guess I'm stupid because I don't understand. Like I had my own headcanon or whatever, but the fact that I understand you liked it. You had already read spoilers on the series, so everything that was happening was like, got you bitches, check, 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 check. They were checking off on the boxes on your end. They were not checking off the boxes on my end because I didn't know what to expect because I was going off what an overlying arc or story arcs and stuff like that. That's how I feel like you liked it more because you knew exactly what was going to happen or somewhat of what was going to happen. And you knew how they were going to get there. And when we got there, you were like, okay, that was cool. But to me, with not having the books and by going into this entirely blind, I was a little let down.
Maybe a little bit of me knowing the spoilers and what was going to happen was kind of like, okay, I see what's going to happen, and I'm okay with it happening. But even before I knew what was going on, because I found out like episode 4, I think, going into episode 4, like the whole spoiler thing. But before that, I still loved it. Like the beginning, the first episode, second episode,
loved it too.
third episode. I loved all of it. You guys were still having issues with it still, like a little bit. Maybe not as much as the last couple ones. But I don't think that kind of like prepared me for what was going on. Like it wasn't like a checklist I needed to check. It was just like, okay, I'm okay with this. Like people were complaining when the spoilers came out, and people were on Free Folk or the subreddit were talking about it. They're like, "Wow, this is really dumb. Like, why would they do this?" So people were already complaining then. So it's not like they had the same thing of like, okay, let's check out this. Like, okay, it happened, so I'm okay with it. I think what you're saying is true. That maybe you, as a fan, and knowing all these prophecies and all these things that could have happened, like you wanted Arya to kill Cersei and like as a faceless man and everything. Like everybody kind of built themselves up to what they wanted, and when they didn't get what they wanted, it messed it up for them. And I'm not saying that's your fault, because of course, like, as a fan, you want the ultimate thing to happen, like, you know. But when it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean that it's bad.
No. But the difference is this was bad storytelling. I'm not even saying writing. John. Oh no. Listen. John's lineage. How did that impact the final season?
Nothing.
Okay, next.
It provided the conflict between Daenerys and Jon.
That smidge, but the whole point, because it led into what? The prince that was promised, right? That's the whole point of Jon's lineage. That's why Missandei has to correct Tyrion and Valerian, saying it's neither male or female, right? So no prince promised did shit. There was also Brian and Jaime. You know what I mean? Like
they had their moment.
They had their moment.
That was it.
It was kind of weak. He goes back to Cersei. Bran, like his whole point was to stop the Night King. The Night King was stopped, and then I guess he knew he was going to become king when he never wanted to be a ruler in the first place. And now he's like, okay,
he didn't want to be
Lord of Winterfell.
Lord of Winterfell because he was going to be king.
Yeah, and the thing is, he doesn't see the future; he sees the past. So I don't know how he saw that, and that's very evident. He never sees the future; he only sees what has happened. So how did he know he was going to be king?
I mean,
I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just being really like, hey.
Yeah, I agree with you in that where like they don't specifically say that he sees the future or he doesn't.
No, they do. Like that's what the whole point of a green series. That's what the guy tells him. Like the future, all we can do is see it. Like, and he's like, I think he even asked, "Can we see what's coming?" And he's like, "No, use the past or something."
I don't remember any of that.
Like
I don't remember him.
Or maybe
specifically
I'm getting the
saying,
books confused.
Maybe, but I'm saying like in the show they don't specifically say that he can or can't see in the future, and he kind of has like he says the line like, "Oh, why do you think I came out this way?" Because he knew he was to become king. So it's giving you clues that he can, but it doesn't straight up tell you he doesn't.
But that's like kind of like saying what I'm doing then. Like I'm just bending it to how I want to see it. So it's kind of the same thing.
Well, that's the line that he says. I'm not saying like he does or doesn't. Like he just giving you like the clues there. Like whether you think about it or like if you say he does or he doesn't, that's what he said.
I just want to say that me watching this entire show for the first time, like I did it for this reason, that we're giving our perspective, and I agree with you, and I agree with you too. This is what we got, and that's it. And it's totally okay for somebody to say they didn't do shit with any of this. I wish they could have done this. It's totally okay to do that too. Like to see both sides of that fucking coin. Like, well, look at all this stuff that they put in front of us, and they didn't fucking switch the net on it. They just said like, all right,
they got it right for 7 seasons.
Yeah. Yes. I think
that's what I'm saying.
It's kind of like they pulled a Star
right.
Wars, like the last Star Wars movie. Like they did everything in their power to kill everything George Lucas made. Like they took out the Skywalkers. Rey's not even related to anybody. There's no more Jedis. The Empire's gone. You know what I mean? Like everything George Lucas made, they used that movie to destroy. And I kind of felt that's how this ending did. Like all the buildup, all the subtle hints, all the romance that you had, the nuance was just gone. And I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, it's a great show. I love it. It's my favorite TV series. It was just kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like, hey, it's kind of like going on a blind date, and then it's like, oh, it's a dog. Like a literal dog. I thought I was going to go out with a human. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I'm just saying that it's totally okay. Like,
yeah.
This is why we're having a podcast. Not everybody's going to fucking be like, yeah, dude, fuck yeah, toot each other's horn, gassing each other up. You know, there's going to be fucking differences. And that's fine.
Yeah, because like that, I enjoyed it. I loved all the bullet points. I loved the story.
Yes.
Like me telling it back, I'm only hitting the bullet points, so that's how the story's being told. But being spoiled for 6 seasons where they told you the nuance and the reasons why, and you saw the people's motivations.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted. That's it.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing with you in the sense of like they rushed the story because they did. I wanted more. I wanted 10 episodes, maybe more fleshed out story. But what I'm saying is, yes, it gave us bullet points, but those bullet points were solid for me. Everything that was supposed to like happen in my headcanon happened, or like everything that I wanted to see happened. Yes, we could have expanded more on stuff, and instead of getting a fucking snack, we got to get a whole course meal. But I'm still satisfied.
Right? No. Like they did logical steps. Yes, you're right. I'm just saying, it just fell flat on the storytelling. Like on the story. You know what I mean? Just the whole story from the beginning.
It was super meta when he was like, the great who has the greatest story, and like when Tyrion says that to the council, and I'm like, you cheeky bastards! Like you all didn't nail the landing. Like you all had a decent season. The action incredible.
Yes.
I loved. There was a lot of good payoffs, and I feel like they screwed Jamie, even though I loved his outcome, and they screwed Jon because they did nothing with anything that they built over 7 seasons. That's just it. But we can wrap it up.
So yeah, overall, I thought it was great. You guys thought it was okay. I won't say you guys hated it because you guys liked it.
Oh yeah, no,
and
it's beautiful.
And it's gonna live on to be one of the most epic shows ever. And maybe I don't know. Maybe like in years' time, I'm gonna start to hate it or the way it ended because I wanted more, or you guys are gonna think about it a different way. Yeah. But it's a show that it's gonna be rewatched and like brought up whenever great shows come up. Like everything from this point on is gonna be compared to Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
I feel like
it is. That's the new standard.
Yeah, and no matter how it ended, whatever your thoughts were, it's still gonna be. I want everybody to remember how great of a show it is. And like you said, like you watch The Office and like you just don't watch the last couple of seasons because it just changes completely.
This show wasn't like that. Like, I still rewatch every season because I like a lot of every season. Like it was good.
Oh yeah,
but The Office just those last 2 seasons with Ed Helms trying to be the main guy. No, I can't do it. Not to get into The Office,
but yeah, I feel like this is a show that's gonna live on for the rest of our lives in history, and it's always gonna be a touchstone of like great things, like the Titanic or like movies that are classics. This is gonna be the classic show.
I've never seen the Titanic.
Do you think they come back in 10 years?
I don't know.
Tell like maybe a movie or
well, Blood Moon, right? You heard about that?
No.
It's the prequel. It's coming out in a couple years. Like we need to come back and do Blood Moon.
Hell yeah!
It's about when the wall was built.
Ooh. I want to do Token. I think they did a pretty good setup for Arya, and with us not knowing what happened to Drogon, like her going west and Drogon going west of somewhere. I think that'd be a great.
The guy who plays Jamie is like pushing that, right? He's hashtagging it everywhere, like Arya spinoff.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
And people are like, "Oh, she's gonna discover America." Okay, like people are just making memes of it, and people are like, "How did I know what's west of Westeros?" It's like we don't know how big this planet is. Like,
well, it's like going to California to China. Like, no, I don't think anybody could do that till maybe the past 200 years or 300 years. They had 400 years maybe, but before that, no one could sail that huge body of water.
So I like how there's still mystery around this universe, and I'm probably not going to read the books, so the story's ended for me. So whatever changes in the books, I really don't care. Whatever happens in the books, I really don't care.
These books are so good.
But yeah, thank you guys for sticking with us and watching us and going on this roller coaster of a journey with us. Whether you agree with me or with everybody else in this table, let us know in the comments below. Let us know what you think about the legacy of Game of Thrones. Did this season ruin it for you, or did it just make you kind of meh on the show, or make you like it more? So yeah, please leave a comment at the bottom. Check us out on youtube.com/laughingdeath, instagram.com/laughingdeath podcast, or just Laugh and Death.
Laugh and Death podcast.
Laugh and Death podcast. Listen to us on iTunes, on Spotify. We're on there as well if you just want to listen to the audio version of this podcast. And thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one for our regular Laugh and Death podcast, now that we're free of Game of Thrones.
See you guys.
Bye.
My lords.